next to one another. I was thinking about the first break, toasting my English muffin and saying, hey, it's English muffin time during the starting five.
And Moulton.
Love BOGO English muffins. You throw one on the counter, you throw the other in the freezer.
There you go.
For a week, then you take it out. When you've got BOGO, it's like, hey,
knock yourself out.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Yes! Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of July. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming MillerandMoulton.com. Broadcasting live. Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
Microphone was a long ways away. They're doing very well this morning. Yourself, David?
What? Why was it a long ways away?
I was working on the computer, and I usually just kind of lean over and talk, and it was in its retreat for the night spot.
It moved on you.
It got away from me, David. These things happen.
Well, that seemed to be the theme for Major League Baseball yesterday. It got away from them yesterday a little bit. They're going to try to put the genie back in the bottle. Today.
We made a mistake. I guess we just missed something yesterday. Never really mentioned it, and I thought about it after the show when all of a sudden all hell broke loose. I mean, it couldn't have been more than 9:07 when all of a sudden you and I get a test that said 10 players, 2 staffers now test positive for the Marlins. When they knew that they had several players testing positive before the game Sunday, why the hell did they play?
Because, at least this is my conclusion, because they thought it was only 4.
Right. That's a pretty big number.
I understand. It's 4 out of 30, so it's about 13% of the team. So, 4 out of it was, I think, 2 outfielders, a catcher, and the starting pitcher. I mean, it's not as if they were inconsequential players.
That's insignificant to me.
Okay.
4 players tested positive, and they just thought the other 26 and the whole staff were good. David, I'm just looking back on it. I'm not trying to, I guess it's armchair quarterback, but I look at it, or armchair pitcher in this case, and I'd rather be bullpen coach. But either way, I'm not sure. I mean, they might have really screwed this up by just playing.
Well, there's no doubt. What's interesting, there were numerous reports that came out between 9:07 and noon. At one point, it was made to be seen as if, well, the Marlins decided in a group text that they were going to play. Well, Major League Baseball didn't give final say to the Marlins players, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't as if they made the call. I mean, Major League Baseball allowed them to play. All right. Now, the Marlins players could have said, we ain't playing. All right. And then I think Major League Baseball would have respected their wishes. But it wasn't as if Major League Baseball said, well, sure guy's decision. You want to play or not? It wasn't as if Don Mattingly said, hey, guys, I don't know. What do you want to do?
Right. No, I get that.
But for a couple hours yesterday, that was being portrayed. I mean, it was kind of like the WNBA anthem story from the weekend when ESPN sent out an erroneous tweet saying the anthem started and the 2 teams walked off the court while the anthem was playing. No, they got done with their warm-ups. They went in their locker room. The anthem played without them on the court, and then they both came out, kind of like what Kenny Stills and a couple of NFL players have done for the last year. They stay in the locker room for the anthem, and then they come out. There's a big difference. I mean, it's, to some, it may not be much of a difference at all, but I think to most of the rest of us, the difference between the anthem starts playing and you walk off, that's fairly disrespectful as opposed to a silent form of protest.
Yeah, I would argue that walking off during the middle of the anthem's worse than kneeling for it.
Right. So, but back to the Marlins situation. For a few hours yesterday, Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred, and goodness knows they can be criticized about a lot of things, but they were being portrayed as if they had no leadership in this. They were almost didn't know what was going on, and it was basically a handful of Marlins players who decided, you know what, we're here, we're playing. And Major League Baseball went, okay.
Well, thank goodness that you made the decision, because we didn't want to have to make any decisions on this. It's only the future of our sport for the 2020 season.
Right. We went to church, and then we're playing golf. You know, just good thing you guys handled it. But certainly the ramifications of it, clearly there were more than a handful of players who were infected with the coronavirus. So they were all in and around that visiting clubhouse. So when the Yankees got done in Washington, and then I think they took the train from Washington to Philadelphia, the Yankees go to their hotel. It's early evening, you know, they're having dinner, they're going to relax. Not the behind-the-scenes people. They're taking all their equipment. They're walking right into that clubhouse. They're setting up all their stuff. They did it late Sunday night. And then, you know, they're tapped on the shoulder to go, yeah, you get all this stuff out of here. You're going to have to clean it. We got to clean this clubhouse, and I don't know when we're going to use it again, to be honest with you.
Well, you know, that gets into a whole nother area that, and maybe we'll ask David Sampson's joining us on the show today. Maybe he knows a little more. What is protocol in the visiting clubhouse? I'm not even trying to be flippant when I say that.
Right.
Because I traveled with teams. Every once in a while, in my hockey world, we'd show up. We'd have an off night on a Saturday where we'd literally go to the rink, wait for the team to finish playing, and load our gear in.
Right.
Can't do that right now.
Well, no.
You can't. I mean, I don't know who the cleaning crews are and what they have to do, but these things need to be completely sanitized and whatever else has to be done in between teams. And
right.
there is not a lot of time. I mean, these teams are traveling like that. They're right on top of one another in some cases.
And also, it's 60 games in 66 days, so there's not a ton of leeway. The good thing is, from a scheduling standpoint, baseball's doing a lot of back-to-back home and homes. Marlins and Orioles were supposed to do what? Play 2 games in Miami and then play 2 games in Baltimore. Well, quite frankly, you could argue, why in the world did they make the Marlins go from Philly home first? Shouldn't they have made them go from Philly to Baltimore and then both teams could go to Miami? But anyway, so the Marlins aren't going to play 2 games in Miami against the Orioles. They're hoping the whole team got tested yesterday, results back either overnight or early this morning. And if it's just the 11 or 12 players and the 2 coaches, then the Marlins are going to grab 12 players off their taxi squad or whatever it is you're referring, their AAA roster, and they're going to replace them, and they're going to go to Baltimore, and they're going to play on Wednesday. And the Yankees and the Phillies have the option, and I don't think Major League Baseball has made a decision yet. I mean, it's 2 hours tops, door to door, straight up the Jersey Turnpike, make a left, all right, to go from Philadelphia to the Bronx. And so, and they're going to be in the Bronx Wednesday and Thursday. So in theory, if baseball wants, they could just shift that series to the Bronx. And then if they want, come back to Philly and play a doubleheader on Thursday. If they want to give everybody more time, you know, clean the stadium, you know, feel safe about it. But the other thing that's going on is the Phillies had to be tested because they played against the Marlins with a whole bunch of people who were infected.
Correct. And that gets back to my earlier premise. If 4 players for the Marlins tested positive, it is ridiculous looking back on it in hindsight why they played that game. I know, David, I know they are trying. They are so hell-bent on getting these seasons done. I get it. And it's the first maybe lesson learned of sports in the COVID world. But that game should not have been played.
No. Upon further review, all right, somebody there said, I know they're saying it's only 4, but how do we know it's not more? Why don't we just play it safe?
And not play the game. And hopefully, we've not yet heard, hopefully no Phillies contracted the coronavirus.
Right.
If they
by playing against the Marlins.
Right. If they did, well then that's worst case scenario happened and could have been avoided. And that's all.
And everybody's getting their results again early this morning, like when we talked with Andy Slater of Fox Sports Radio in Miami. And when the Marlins were being kept overnight from Sunday to Monday in Philly, and the expectation was, well, they're going to find out the results mid to late morning. And sure enough, it was made public anyway, about 7 to 9 minutes after we signed off the air. Oh, boy. And Mark and I were talking. I mean, sometimes we're done with each other by 9:01, and sometimes we have 10, 15, 30-minute conversation.
Quick sidebar, in Act 2, in Act 1, when the show ended, I got up, walked out of the studio, and left. I was gone before the top of the hour.
Yes,
every day.
Yes.
No matter what. When the show ended at 5:57 or whatever it was, I'm out.
Yep.
Now, in Act 2, the only time that the show, I should say, because we kind of say bye to Giro and our Twitch room folks, and then David and I continue typically until 9:20 to 9:30, unless David has to go.
Not true.
Wednesdays on golf.
Right.
But most days it's hey, I got an appointment. I got to go.
Right. Because I got nothing. I mean, I got nothing. I don't have a kid to watch.
No.
I don't have any jobs. 8:58 comes and, my day's done. And my wife just said to me before the show, hey, what are you doing today? I looked at her like, what do you mean, what am I doing today?
Going to the bar, having a few drinks with the fellas.
Right.
Going to go to the track.
Yeah.
Bet a couple races.
Yeah. What do you mean, what am I doing today? But she looked at me like, hey, you ran 2 errands yesterday. Oh, that's right. I know, Mark.
Crazy times.
I should have spaced those out over the course of the week. Man, oh man, the bank and Ace Hardware? What?
Kidding me?
In the same day? I went to Ada's, for goodness sakes. I bought healthy food. Mark, quick sidebar. I got to get this off my chest. Would you eat eggless egg salad? Would you eat chickenless chicken salad? My wife is scarfing this stuff down and looking at me. Okay,
does it have some sort of Beyond Chicken in it?
Well,
I mean, is there some sort of fake meat in it?
Well, of course. It says it right in the title. Chickenless chicken salad. Eggless egg salad. My wife trying to convince me this is really good. All right. And, with the hope that one day she'll kiss me again, I tried a small spoon of the eggless egg salad.
Did you swallow it?
Yes.
Okay. Last night my daughter tried a Brussels sprout. We had some Brussels sprouts as a side, and I saw that face.
Right.
You know the face where it's bitter beer face times 10.
Yeah.
And we're like, honey, spit it out and throw it away. Like, you tried.
Right.
I give you credit. So did that face at all come out of you?
A little bit. Yeah, it did. And I looked right at her and I go, what is this crap? And she goes, I think it's tofu. And I go, you gave this to me? I mean, she's like, well, you need to expand, your food horizons. And I go,
eats
not this
hummus.
much.
The man eats hummus. He changed to hummus at 54.
For goodness
What do
sakes.
you want? Chickenless chicken salad now? What the hell is this?
Right.
I don't know if she's Ruth from Ozark or she's the Gestapo.
Right. For goodness sakes, there are Triscuits in the house. Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough?
You know what would be really good if you put some of that fake chicken salad on the wicker chair, the Triscuit, and tried those two together.
Oh.
Wow.
So, yeah. So there you go.
But
don't get me wrong. I bought buy a lot of good food there, but right there, and they're proudly displaying it too. They're not trying to hide it.
No, they don't at these places, David. They
chickenless chicken salad.
Beyond meat.
Right.
Beyond meat. I don't want to go beyond meat. I just want the meat.
Right.
Why do I have to go beyond it?
Why would I be interested in chicken salad without the chicken? Or the egg salad without the egg?
I don't know. You might be. Egg salad to me is just something that.
Oh, see, my mom made it
the
really
smell
good.
alone just.
Of course, my mom put enough Miracle Whip in it so that it was, it tasted, very sweet. So, anyway.
But
so
back to the coronavirus in baseball.
All right, yeah, back to the coronavirus, by the way.
But, yesterday, Martinez, the manager of the Nats, just flat out said he's scared. I was watching MLB Central yesterday, David. Nothing? Okay. And
MLB Central? What? What is going on?
I had to get ready for A's Angels.
Wait, what? What?
Yesterday, simultaneously, I was watching Padres, Diamondbacks, and A's Angels.
Wow. You might be more all into baseball than you got into NASCAR. Okay, it's close.
I'm loving it.
You are.
Loving
You're
it.
Sending out pictures of all the TVs with baseball games on it.
It's
unreal. It's like a college football Saturday.
I'm so scared this isn't going to work out, David, because I'm really enjoying this. But Matt Olson was on with them. And, they were joking earlier. I don't know if you saw Rizzo in the games with the Cubs where he had the hand sanitizer.
Right.
And it's hysterical.
Yes.
Also probably the right thing to do.
For those that don't know, Rizzo plays first base for the Cubs, and in the opening series against the Brewers, for one game, whichever one it was, when a Brewer got to first, they're not supposed to really talk to one another and high five and all that and fist bump, and so Rizzo just took a little small thing of hand sanitizer out of his back pocket and offered it to the base runner. The base runner's laughing, going, "Yeah, sure,"
and did it to several of them, and they're all taking it. But Matt Olson flat out said yesterday when they're asking him about it, and he's the first baseman for the Oakland A's, he said, I'm probably going to keep a mask in my pocket, and if a runner gets on base, I'm going to put a mask on.
Yeah.
Now I just want you to think about it. And that was the one question, and I don't remember who all the panelists were on the show, but as they were talking, and, they all said it, and it's something we've talked about on this show since we started. The room. The guys love the room. It's why they play. It's why they don't want to retire. It's why some guys go into coaching. They just like being in the room. And what is the one thing that you can't do right now is hang out in the room.
Right. Well, and tell me, and we talked about this a few weeks ago. In fact, I think we even threw it out there to David Sampson, in which we said, listen, is this going to have to be like when we all played Little League in Babe Ruth, in which we get dressed at home? You showed up at the games dressed because you had no time. Obviously, the games were all right on top of one another. And as soon as the one game ended, you came on the field and you started loosening up. And the first thing I thought of as this Marlins story was unfolding yesterday, I'm like, are the clubhouses done for the rest of the year? Are guys going to have to, whether it's your home and you're going to have to get dressed like a kid and transport yourself to the game and you show up in uniform, okay? And the same with the visiting team. Do they get dressed and they're walking through the hotel lobby all in uniform like a college team that's in Southwest Florida playing in one of the tournaments at Hammond Stadium? We see baseball and softball teams in uniform all the time down here for months. When in between games they go and they get something to eat and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm wondering, are major league teams, if you were Major League Baseball, Mark, wouldn't you say, you know what, I think maybe everybody should just show up dressed and just go straight to the field? Spend as little time in the clubhouses as possible. Of all the places where we could put you, doesn't the clubhouse seem the most dangerous concerning the coronavirus?
No question. And even these players talking, they are from, by and large, what you're hearing is, hey, we're all wearing our masks in the clubhouse. We're all taking this very seriously. The other side of this, David, is while I agree with you 100%, this is not 1970 where nobody has work done on them before a game. Every one of these players is getting something taped, something worked on. The medical part of game preparation is far greater than it's ever been. So the training room is another place that's probably not the ideal place for these guys to be, but it's a place that they all have to be.
Albar162 in our Twitch chat room says, I can tell you this, it takes a local company about 45 minutes to sanitize all the rooms in a 1,000 square foot building. And the sanitizer is basically like spraying Lysol, and it takes 1 to 2 minutes to kill the virus. Okay. But you got to remember, you have to also have everybody coming in afterwards to feel comfortable.
And that's cleaning something that didn't have 14 people test positive for COVID-19. So I don't know. And I don't know, Al, if that changes it. Does that, if you're doing sanitizing work in a building and it's just normal cleaning, is that different than 14 people that were in this room yesterday tested positive for the coronavirus? Does that change what has to be done? I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, if you're Major League Baseball, doesn't common sense say move the Phillies-Yankees series to the Bronx for today and tomorrow, play your 2 games, and then go back to Philly and play a doubleheader Thursday?
As long as no Phillies tested positive.
Well, exactly. They'll get the results back today.
Which, by the way, Andy Slater said this. Everybody's been saying this. What do you mean we're taking 24 hours to get test results?
Well, they have their own lab, apparently.
Great.
It's in Utah.
Then they're idiots.
Well,
I'm sorry. If Peter Bush can get tested in an hour.
Although apparently those tests are deemed about 80% accurate. And so I guess if you want one that's considered, 99% accurate, it takes about a day. And so that's anyway what they were saying yesterday as to why it is. Listen, we've got our own lab. It takes a day. Okay. Although in the Marlins case, what we found out was the guys who tested positive on Sunday took those tests on Friday. So it took about 36 hours to get the results. They got them Sunday morning after taking the test on Friday.
And look, we know that not all of you are that into baseball. Not like I am, of course.
Right.
But what this does mean, and probably the most important takeaway from yesterday to a lot of folks, is football's got twice as many players. And they're traveling. College football has 3-4 times as many players. Huh.
Although I could argue that they will do less traveling in football, far less traveling in football than they're doing in baseball. I mean, if you really think about it.
You don't have to argue. You're right, David. It's not an argument. It's a fact.
An NFL team will probably, just for the 8 road games, spend 8 nights on the road. They'll fly in 8 Saturdays, stay over Saturday, play the game, and then come home.
Right. There's a lot more contact in football than there's in baseball, though.
No question about it.
I mean, it's 3 times as many people in the college case, 2 times as many people in the pro case, and far more contact. That's all, David. You're right. They travel. I'm not worried about the travel. I'm worried about the teams touching one another.
I get that. But the thought, for whatever it's worth, I mean, let's face it, everybody's piecing stuff together here. But the Marlins, when they were in South Florida, the whole team tested negative. People forget they were just talking about Philadelphia yesterday. The Marlins went to Atlanta last week for 3 days. They played 2 of those spring-summer games against the Braves in Atlanta. Then they flew to Philadelphia. All right. The feeling amongst the team is that they actually got this in Atlanta. Now, so we need to find out, did they get it? Did they actually not go out with Lou Williams to the strip club? Did they actually stay in their hotel and yet somehow they got it? Or did they go out for a night when they were in Atlanta? Last time, they looked at one another and said, hey, this is probably our last time. We're gonna go on the road. The season's going to start. That's what needs to come out here. What did they do in Atlanta? Because the first person who tested positive was tested on Wednesday in Atlanta, and the result came back Friday. The Marlins do have some questions to answer, though. Okay, somebody apparently tested on Friday. Did they play? And that word didn't get out, did it?
But the fact of the matter is we know for sure now that the Marlins did not decide to play over a group text chat.
No.
As originally reported by the Philadelphia Inquirer. Not joking. Not making that up.
Miller and Moulton. And we also broke down eggless egg salad and chickenless chicken salad, although I do have to rave about the salmon and the chicken, the regular salmon and chicken, not salmonless salmon, not chickenless chicken. Okay, I do have to rave about the chicken and the salmon at Ada's.
Thanks.
Don't want to give off the wrong impression.
Thanks for the rave. And when you think rave, you think David Moulton. Miller and Moulton, the starting 5 on the other side.
Just like when you think baseball, you know who you think?
Mark Miller.
Mark Miller.
It's the baseball hour, folks. Come on. Plenty of room on the bandwagon. Join in. The starting 5 is next on Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Fox Sports Radio streaming at millerandmoulton.com. And you are looking at the Baseball Bunch on twitch.tv.
Woo!
We do this all for you.
You are correct.
So sit
They ate the wings.
It's fun. It's the best.
enjoy the banter,
Stocks and sports, that's the game.
enjoy the conversation that makes you think.
I would not think about ripping him. What are you talking about?
Enjoy all of this
Love it. Embrace it.
Isn't it great? And let's not forget,
because we're doing it all for you.
you just watch. We're going to do it.
And do it often.
We're Fox Sports Radio.
I like our third shifters in here. Watching before bed.
We've got
Right.
hundreds of new arrivals from 1999. Shop summer dresses, bright shirts, easy shorts, and more. Find your nearest store or shop online.
Yeah, I'm really bummed out because they took away the MLB package now.
Just for the weekend, huh?
It was just the weekend. The problem is, I don't know if I want to buy it.
27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service.
Until, like, I'm wondering if they'll lower the price because I'm going to be gone all next week. I don't really want to buy it.
Yeah, you might as well just take
See if-
another 2 weeks.
See if I can take 2 weeks and see if they'll lower the price a little bit. I'm telling you what, baseball over-unders might be the greatest thing in the world to bet just to make sure you watch games.
Did you see, was it the Friday night, I guess, the over-under, forget the game it was, but the guy hit a slam in the 10th,
Oh,
and it sent the game over, and this guy
I think that
had
was
a
the
bet.
A's game.
And this, so instead of the final, once they're in the 10th and the bases are loaded, and the guy's got the under, and he's thinking he's going to win like 10 grand. And then he literally tweets out, well, I guess there is one way I can lose this if a guy hits it out of the park. And sure enough, he hits it out of the park and he loses the over-under.
Love the back-to-back text. Wait, David eats hummus? What, the 2020? Text 2 minutes later. Wait, Mark watches baseball now?
Exactly. You must think you're like sleep deprived and on drugs if you're listening to the first half hour of this show. I like the advice from Skinny D Originator. Buy it under your kid's name. College kids get 75% off the MLB package.
Is that the MLB.TV one or the MLB package on DirecTV?
You can make your community a safer place. Vote yes for the Lehigh Acres Fire and Rescue.
By the way, we're going to give you a little inside scoop here. Right here, this station, Fox Sports Radio, the home of the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yes.
Ah,
that's right.
secured the rights to the hockey yesterday.
Lower taxes for most homeowners and lower rates on property insurance policies. Vote yes.
Al, thanks for watching us before you hit the hay. We appreciate it.
When you or your family needs a
We can give you a how the heck are you and a monologue for you to go to sleep on every day.
Yeah, I got to see if my old Skinny, I got to see if my old my original one Apple TV will do that at MLB, because if that does it, I'll go that route. Problem is, I don't get the MLB Mix channel, and at the end of the day, that thing is crack.
Is that like Red Zone?
Well, yeah, but it's just got it's not like Red Zone in the fact, but it's just got every game up. It's always like when Red Zone's in the triple box.
Right.
So it's all 8 games, and then I can flip it sound-wise to whatever game I want, which is kind of fun when baseball's rather boring. I mean, like you can watch 4 baseball games at once. It's not like football.
New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time.
Well, the good thing is that if you look up and you see a guy in the middle of an RBI double or something like that, you can just click on it because they'll show you a replay.
Well, not only that, you can click on it and you can rewind all 8 games.
Oh, okay. Well,
you just rewind it right.
For men that get low T care is a greatly improved move. Many are grumpy when they start.
I don't know how many of you have Dish, but apparently Dish and Fox 4 are in a dispute, and I guess Fox 4 is about to go away. Yeah. Just like Dish and Wink have been in a couple of disputes in the last couple of years. But I'm just saying, if you're, baseball, Fox is carrying a lot of baseball on the weekends.
If you're a sports fan and have Dish, you're a moron.
Well, I agree with that.
Dish is the cheapest. Well, it's the cheapest out there. Most people that are doing Dish are doing it simply because they're trying to spend as little as possible on cable television.
Nick says the discounts on MLB.com, 35% for college students.
You're live.
Wait for it. 27 minutes before 7 on this final Tuesday of July, the 28th of the month. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
If I were a listener of this show driving to work and that little beginning would come on, I would want to be at a stoplight so I could just turn at the scream spot and look at whoever the car's next to me and just go, ah!
At 6:30 in the morning,
right.
Too. That's how we roll over here in this car. Yeah.
What are you listening to? Some metal? No, Miller and Moulton.
Right. Yeah. That's how we do sports talk in this town.
The Williamson Brother Marine and Roofing text line is open. And I say that because we received these texts during the opening monologue.
Okay.
Wait, David eats hummus? What, the 2020? Followed 2 minutes later by, wait, Mark watches baseball now?
This is an unbelievable year, isn't it? I mean, this really is the Twilight Zone. I never got into the Twilight Zone as a kid, but you know what? This might be the year. I don't know what service has the old Twilight Zones. I may start watching them the rest of this year. That's how crazy 2020 is. I may just get the old Rod Serling stuff out and watch it.
Did watch a little Wizards-Lakers yesterday, too, before the baseball started.
What?
First quarter.
You're watching NBA TV scrimmages? That's worse than watching Summer League. My goodness.
It's live sports on in the middle of the day.
I know. You really, you know what? You are such a sucker for that. It's why it's now.
I'd have been a great second shifter, David. I'd have been a great guy working that 3 to 11 shift and just getting out and watching games. I'm telling you.
I'll tell you what, you were born a little too late because you would have been great if the heyday was like the 80s of WGN and TBS, that sort of deal. You'd
ran home in 7th grade to watch Cubs games, David.
No, I'm with you. Hey, I remember where I was when Kerry Wood struck out 20. I remember exactly where I was. And I was about 32 years old, and I still remember where I was. All right, without further ado, let's do the cars here. Time now for
the starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
I am amused. Now we can't even get the numbers correct. The reports are 11 players and 2 coaches or 12 players and 2 coaches. Which is it? 13, 14 Marlins tested positive for the coronavirus. Here's what we know. The Marlins are still in Philadelphia. Their game last night at home against Baltimore was postponed. Their game tonight at home against Baltimore is already postponed. The hope is that if no one else has come back with a positive test result today, that the Marlins will eventually leave their hotel in Philadelphia, leaving everyone who's positive behind, by the way. They have to stay quarantined for 14 days. Everyone else will get on the bus and bus from Philly to Baltimore, where they will play games on Wednesday and Thursday. No word yet on the Yankees and the Phillies, whose game was postponed last night because the Marlins are in Philadelphia and the visiting clubhouse is infected and has to be cleaned, and the Phillies have to get tested. Those test results come back this morning. The decision on tonight's Yankees-Phillies game, if it's going to be played and where is it going to be played, because they could just go right up the turnpike and play the games in the Bronx. Those decisions coming up later this morning. Mark, you said you wanted scores. I'll give you some scores. The Rays jumped all over the Braves, 14-5. Tampa Bay's off to a 3-1 start. Red Sox are off to a 1-3 start, losing at home to the Mets 7-4. Cubs are off to a 3-1 start. They edged the Reds, who are 1-3, 8-7. The Nats are off to another slow start. They dropped to 1-3. The Blue Jays beat them 4-1. Houston is 3-1. They beat Seattle 8-5. San Diego is 3-1. They edged Arizona 6-2. We had our first game go more than 10 innings yesterday. Milwaukee beat Pittsburgh 6-5 in 11. The A's are 3-1. They shut out the Angels 3-0. White Sox manager Rick Renteria. Now, their game last night got postponed due to rain, but Rick Renteria is being tested for the coronavirus. They don't know if he has it yet. If so, Joe McEwing will take his place. But White Sox manager Rick Renteria is being tested because he has shown some symptoms. And Colorado pitcher, Mark, Tim Collins, after hearing the Marlins news, he said, "I'm out." See, baseball players can still opt out at any point in time. Football gives you until next Monday. You've got till August 3rd to opt out in the NFL. That's it. Then either you're in or you're out. And speaking of which, Ravens kick returner DeAnthony Thomas became the second NFL player to opt out yesterday. NFL training camps open today, except for 3 players who yesterday Roger Goodell put on his exempt list: the Giants' DeAndre Baker, the Seahawks' Quentin Dunbar, and the Washington Football Club Cody Lattimore. Roger Goodell, you can go to NFL.com and read his open letter to the fans. And in a very sad story, former 49ers great Dana Stubblefield convicted of rape yesterday. College football news. The Canes, they're not even hiding it. There is no quarterback competition. They've already named Houston transfer De'Ara King to be their starting quarterback this year. And Mark, you want some good coronavirus news?
Yes.
The NHL yesterday said
zip, zilch, nada.
All week last week, we tested everybody at least 3 times. All right? 0, zilch, bubkus. So according to the NHL, the entire league has arrived in both Edmonton and Toronto, where they are in a bubble, and they arrive with no one positive for the coronavirus. Can't do any better than that as a league, can you?
Fired up for basketball and hockey. I mean,
Thursday and Saturday, by the way. NBA starts Thursday night. Hockey starts noon on Saturday with a play-in game, if you will. Rangers and Hurricanes starting their best of 5 at noon on Saturday.
By the way, love your Rangers in this series. I think they're plus 150, somewhere in that range. They were 4-0 against Carolina during the regular season. They seem to have the Hurricanes' number. I think this is a really solid first-round upset bet that you're getting odds on.
You have to bet the Rangers just because the odds are so good. It's funny, though, deep down, Mark, I think Carolina is going to win the series because they were honked. They hate this playoff format. They voted against it as an organization. They are not happy that they ended up with the Rangers at all. The Rangers were one of the hottest teams in the league when the league shut down. And they know that they don't match up well in the whole deal. So I think Carolina's going to play, this one with the proverbial chip on the shoulder. I think playoff experience will be the difference. And here's the irony. Lundqvist owns Carolina in his career, including this year. 3 of those 4 wins were with him in goal, in which he gave up a total of like 3 goals.
And he's essentially their backup right now.
Correct. And they're going to play the kid instead.
Well, that's for game 1.
Right. So there you could tell.
There you go.
Hockey guys.
There it is. Carolina Rangers tomorrow will take on the Blue Jackets Maple Leaf series during the starting 5. Look forward to that.
So that's how we're going to do it.
I don't know. That's just how I've decided. We may do another series at 7:30. I don't know. What are we doing next segment, David? What are we doing the one after that? We make this up as we go along.
That's part of the charm, otherwise known as Miller and Moulton. And that is
the starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
I mean, David, there's show prep, and then this morning, I thought we were actually having some. David jumped on his headsets much earlier than normal. Right. I mean, like 5:50. I mean, I'm talking like 10 minutes before the show.
Yeah, 5:47. I had the headsets on.
I look over, and I can hear mumbling. I'm like, is he talking to me? And I thought he was saying, like, that's junk.
Are you talking to me?
And I'm looking, and his lips are moving. I'm like, you all right over there? You talking to yourself? And he goes, no, I'm answering a couple tweets and a couple of texts.
Right, and sometimes... So, because I write like I talk, for better or worse. I wrote columns that way. I literally would be saying it out loud as
and that's what you were doing. You were texting and he doesn't use the talk to text feature. It's a combo. He talks while he texts. It's really interesting, and I found it to be enjoyable this morning. Then I mistakenly asked David, "Are you talking to me?" No. Are you talking to yourself? No. Yeah, I'm texting. He really was talking to himself, but he talks it out.
No, I was talking to someone. Okay. Long distance. It was, a long distance dedication, basically, is what I was given there. I really should look into that whole talk to text thing. It would probably be, in fact, it was invented for people like me. It really was. I probably should start using that. How long's that technology been around for? Since about 2009? All right, good. 16 minutes before the top of the hour. We'll review yesterday's poll question. We'll come up with ours. David Sampson at the top of the hour. We will ask him, if he were president of the Marlins, what would he have done and what would he be wanting to do going forward? David Sampson at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, thanks for starting your Tuesday morning with us here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Let me just give you a little bit of information as I'm getting ready for Today Was the Day When. This will not be part of it. This is a bonus that you get in the Twitch chat room. Today in 1989, Anne Murray opens the Anne Murray Center, a multimedia museum of her career in her hometown of Spring Hill, Nova Scotia. How many people do you think since 1989 have been to the Anne Murray Center? I'm going with 37, and 33 of those are family members.
Dan Martineau here, owner of DR Martineau Roofing of South Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martineau.
Who'll need a checkup? Call the doctor.
What do we got for today? Wasn't there something off the beaten path
Yes.
yesterday that we
Yes.
liked?
Yes. I didn't know if I wanted to do that story right here. That's the lotto story.
Oh, no, I meant for a poll question. I thought we had a non-sports poll question yesterday, and we were kind of going back and forth, and you said something, and it was like, ooh, that could be the poll question tomorrow.
Oh, that was this story.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That was the lotto story.
Yes, you're right.
My other one is very simply that it might just be up while I'm gone. It's the Who are the Stones. It's been on my mind a lot lately. I've literally been asking people.
Who are the Stones?
The Who or the Stones?
Oh, the Who
or the Stones. And I also phrased the question this because the Beatles are the best English band. And the answer to this question is not who's the next best band, because that answer is much like your Kevin Durant thing. It's Led Zeppelin. Since that's not the answer, who are you picking, the Who or the Stones? Because I would answer that Led Zeppelin, but that you can't do.
Well, we could ask people the second greatest British band and put all three choices, right?
Yep, and we got this one, and then with everything that happened yesterday, do you want to?
I don't know if I want another coronavirus question. I think people are. I mean, it's just.
I know.
Also, quite frankly, Mark, who knows? The question might be obsolete by 11 a.m. I just.
It's just like the Western bacon cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy.
I might give it a day.
And topped with tangy barbecue sauce, but we added.
We should have everybody's test results back today. Marlins, Phillies, umpires.
Spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack?
That's the other thing. If you're the umpires, you happy that they played that game on Sunday? How annoyed are you? If you're those four guys.
Someone did ask a really important question in the on the text line here. Why does Mark hate chains so much?
Oof, boy, how much time do we have?
Right.
Listen. I asked. Get ready. I asked him this during a commercial break about 10, 12 years ago. Get ready. Listen, I will say this, and I know you hate chains, okay, but I do love the Welcome Back Cotter music for Applebee's. Using that in their ads.
Oh, hey, I think the ads that have been out, I think the Gatorade ads have been fantastic. With them all just playing. I think that, Chevy has a really nice ad out there. I mean, I think that there was some serious discussions on Madison Avenue of how you're going to approach this. And it is not trying to sell a damn thing. It is just saying, hey, we're going to get you're doing PSAs right now for your company to remind them that we're all working together in your corner for you now. But I think largely the ads have been spectacular.
You can count on us to be in your corner working for you now.
Thank you for your business all these years.
I'll quickly recap yesterday's poll question, and you do this. And
all right.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And welcome back, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Thanks so much for being with us. David Sampson of CBS Sports, former president of the Miami Marlins, will join us coming up at the top of the hour. Our poll question yesterday, since it's Mark Miller's baseball hour, we went with a baseball poll question. Baseball has changed how they're doing extra innings. Which ending of a baseball game would you prefer? We did not give you the option of doing it the old way. All right, because we knew that would be a runaway winner. So the options we gave you were how baseball's doing it in 2020, which is, all right, top of the 10th inning, put a runner on second with nobody out. 55% of you said, you know what, I'll stick with how they're doing it this year. 45% of you voted for ties. Only 8% of you voted for a tie after 9 innings. 37% of you said, can we at least try and play 2 innings? And then if it's still tied, we'll do a tie after 11. So far this year, every game that's gone to extra innings has ended in the 10th, except for one last night, which went to the 11th before it was won. So, Mark, I do find it interesting. 55% said, well, I'll stick with the gimmick. 45%, though, said, you know what? I'd rather a tie than this gimmick.
That's fascinating to me. I'd like to forward the results on to Rob Manfred and see how he uses them. But, David, I saw a story yesterday as I was getting ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I just simply said to you at about 15 minutes before we were off the air, I said, I think we could do a whole show on this story. David, years ago, before we worked together, who was the pitcher?
Joe Borowski.
Joe Borowski was, at that point, Joe Borowski had a nice run after this. Literally had, I think, a couple more good years. At this point, he hadn't had those good years yet.
Well, he had his first moment in the sun, and he got released, and it looked like it was the end of the line for Joe Borowski.
And so David did a poll question. Would you trade everything, your wife, your kids, and to be Joe Borowski, to be a journeyman pitcher?
Right, but you ended up, at that time, you had one really good moment in the sun with the Cubs, I think it was in 2003, and later on, he would have another moment.
But he hadn't had it yet, and it was overwhelming, the number of people. This is long before Twitter polls, but, I mean, just phone calls of everybody willing to throw their kids to the curb to be a pro baseball player.
Right, you got to keep your parents.
That's right.
And your siblings, that's it. But your wife, kids, your life would have gone very differently. Okay, would you trade your life that you have to have been Joe Borowski?
So that was 15, 18 years ago that David did this. This is an actual thing that happened in 1992. Tom Cook and Joseph Feeney are friends from Menominee, Wisconsin. And they made a deal in 92 that if either one of them ever won the Powerball jackpot, that they would split the money. Well, last month, Tom Cook hit the Powerball and made good on his promise. He called the guy, and they're both avid fishermen, which I love the line. He called me, and I said, are you jerking my bobber? Which I don't know how I can work that into my daily repertoire, but I think jerking my bobber is a lot better than pulling my chain.
I'm writing it down. Are you jerking my bobber?
Cook retired after hitting the jackpot. Feeney was already retired. They ended up taking the cash out for $16.7 and leaving each of them with a little less than $6 million after taxes. But that was 1992.
Right.
That was 28 years ago that they made this promise.
Right.
That is remarkable.
And, of course, it begs the question.
Would you? I mean, that's the question.
Right. Would you hold up your end of the handshake?
Because David and I have talked that we would take care of one another. Right. We would not be splitting a damn thing. But I would make sure that I took care of David, and David has said he would make sure that he takes care of me.
Right. Right. I think we said we'd give each other 7 figures.
Yeah, basically, here's $1 million. Knock yourself out.
Right. Yeah. If this isn't good enough for you, that's a you problem.
Right.
Right. Is what we said.
And if it was a big monster Powerball, it might get a little bigger. But for the most part, we're kind of guaranteeing the other one $1 million.
Right. If it's huge, it might a little something for the effort.
Right. It might be 2, might be 5. But we're pretty much, we've banked on $1 million. And if it were any more than that, you'd go, holy cow, thanks. But if it were $1 million, you'd go, right on, man. Appreciate it.
Right. If it was more than that, we'd say, are you jerking my bobber?
You love it, don't you? How are you going to?
We gotta make shirts. Come on, we gotta merchandise this.
I really think that Miller and Moulton logo with "Are you jerking my bobber" on the back works.
For our fishing tournaments. Come on, this is fantastic.
I really need to talk to some merch people because I mean, Dan Patrick's got it right, but are you jerking my bobber? I want everyone today at some point to try to use that phrase.
Yes.
And please, the Twitch folks can let us know in there. But really, the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line at 479-5551. I would like the time that you used it, the person you used it to, and any description of the reaction that they gave you.
Right.
Because at some point, your wife's going to come home from work, or you're going to come home from work, and she's going to say, "You're not going to believe what happened to me," and you're just going to look at her and go, "Are you jerking my bobber?"
And then all the jokes that ensue off of that.
1 minute.
Because, let's say, I mean, you say
I want that shirt now. I do not want the "I'm just here for the wings" shirt. Although it's not a bad shirt right now.
No, it's not. I mean, how Wisconsin is that? Are you jerking my bobber? My goodness. That's fantastic. So that's going to be our poll question whenever we get it up. Basically, would you live up to your end of the handshake? This is the Powerball, remember.
Right. This isn't a scratcher for $20.
No, right.
This is not a scratcher for 20.
No, this is 8 figures here. That you
and you're giving up, and instead of it being 8, you're giving up one of those figures. So now you're each getting 7 because you're splitting this sucker.
Right.
Are you jerking my bobber? Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
From Southwest Florida's news leader, this is a Wink News.
I want to see the look on your wife's face when you throw, "Are you jerking my bobber?" at some story she gives you tonight. All right, so hang on here. Arch and Johnny.
Collier County schools are expected to discuss this school calendar at their board meeting.
I got you on the career and all that, but I'm just really asking you who you like better. Because I love both, but I think push comes to shove, I'm picking the Who. I personally like their catalog better than the Stones. That's all.
Discuss a mask resolution at county businesses asking customers to wear masks when not social distancing. Cape Coral is canceling its 50th anniversary celebration and fireworks display on Labor Day, citing safety concerns. Trust Wink News, Southwest Florida's news leader.
I do think if we went Zeppelin, who are the Stones, that would be a...
It might be a vacation poll. I may be putting polls up during vacation.
Tell us what's new at the store. Or is that the one we put up Friday?
Yeah.
Of Core-Tech in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from
Hummus will not stay on the hook, but if you dipped hummus maybe like in a little pita wrap, you could get that on the hook.
It's not just the many colors of Core-Tech that you have.
Kind of like I used to fish with carp with a, like a lump of bread.
Looks like stone, but it's Core-Tech, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tech wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
When you went car shopping, you meant business.
You know, the one thing we do have to say about Lou Williams Chicken Wings is he does have a chicken wing named after him at that strip club.
Well,
how much of a frequent customer do you have to be for them to name a wing after you?
I happened to turn Cowherd on for a little bit during a commercial of Baseball Central, or the whatever baseball show there, and I think I was into, that Mad Dog was on at that point. So Joy's like, "No, they've got good wings there." I don't know what to tell you. They start, it was pretty, he's like, when I get the Zagat results, I don't see, and he's making up strip joint names. It was actually reasonably funny.
Well, I'm telling you, Ellie Duncan of ESPN took to Twitter to say, folks, in Atlanta, first off, strip clubs are very popular. And secondly, there are a few that have pretty good food, and going to a strip club for the wings is not outrageous in Atlanta.
Good morning.
David, good morning.
How are you?
Better than the Marlins.
Not as good as you, though. I saw you get shave and a haircut over the weekend. You must feel like a new man.
I got it on Thursday right after first pitch. Thank God.
Did you feel like you lost weight shaving that thing off?
I feel like I lost weight because I lost weight. But yes, it's amazing.
Fantastic double shot of pictures there. That was hysterical. That was good stuff.
Thank you. Since we can't
sit next to one another, I was thinking about the first break, toasting my English muffin and saying, hey, it's English muffin time during the starting five.
And Moulton.
Love BOGO English muffins. You throw one on the counter, you throw the other in the freezer.
There you go.
For a week, then you take it out. When you've got BOGO, it's like, hey, knock yourself out.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Yes! Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the top of the hour on this final Tuesday of July, thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. It's a pleasure to welcome back David Sampson, former president of the Miami Marlins. He covers baseball for CBS Sports and CBS Sports HQ. He has his daily podcast called Nothing Personal with David Sampson. And you can follow David on Twitter at David, the letter P, Sampson, David P. Sampson. David, top of the morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning. How are you?
Well, we are fine. And first off, before we get into everything that is on the table, for those that don't follow you on Twitter, all right, you, late last week, got rid of a burden. All right. I mean, we've both gone 2-3 months during this without shaving and getting a haircut and what have you. But it looked as if you had not shaven or gotten a haircut since this whole thing began, but you did so late last week.
Well, I did the ML Beard Challenge, which I started, which is that I didn't shave when MLB shut down. I said until there's a first pitch, I'm not going to shave, and I gave money to charity, $1,000 a day to 100 different organizations for the first 100 days. And it was, I'm just so happy there was a first pitch. That's all I can say. So I was in the barber's chair, literally the barber who was the official barber of the Marlins, who's been with me since 2002 when I got to Florida, and he's been there since 1998. And I was in there at 7:08 p.m. when Max Scherzer threw the first pitch, and that was it. He started taking off the beard.
All right. Well, David, now I check out your Twitter thing, and I'm now reading reviews of 500 Days of Summer. We'll get to that in another time. But this Marlins thing, help me out. Why, looking back on it, it seems pretty obvious, and hindsight is what it is, but it looks like we could have canceled the game Sunday and been a lot better off. Is there any protocols in place for number of players that has to test positive before you just completely postpone a game? Do things change going forward now if a team has 4 positive tests? Looking back, what will baseball learn about what they didn't do before Sunday's game?
Well, you're asking the number one question right at the top. And the answer is there's nothing in the protocols about the number of players where there would be a ruling that the games can't continue, because the entire system was set up for games to continue. That's why there's so many players on the team. That's why there's a taxi squad that travels with the team. That's why they expanded the rosters for this very reason, so that when players tested positive, the next players would come into the clubhouse and start playing. That's the goal here. So the question is there a number where baseball would say, well, now that's too many? And we know it's not 4 because the Marlins had 4 positive tests and the game went on. But we also know it's not 11 because when it was 11, then the game stops. So somewhere between 4 and 11 seems to be the number that was never discussed with the union, never agreed to, never contemplated, and never written down. But now we know it's somewhere between 4 and 11.
Upon further review, do you think Major League Baseball and or the Marlins would have done something differently? Or, as you just stated, hey, everything was written procedurally so as to not do something different? Or do you think next time they will?
The only thing that is not happening that was really contemplated by the agreement and the protocol is there's some lag with testing that I don't think they believed would occur, which means that they're taking the tests and they're not getting the results as quickly as they would like. So there are players who are playing when they're positive. And the goal was to have no positive players playing. And that's the issue with testing. And that's why I think one adjustment would be testing every day, which is what I've been calling for from the beginning, versus testing every other day. Because now I think MLB and the players have a concern that when there are players playing who have taken a test but you don't have the results, that can lead to an outbreak. And that's really what happened with the Marlins.
Well, and Mark, this goes back to, remember when Rizzo, the GM of the Nats, they had during the training, and they had taken the test on Friday, and they still didn't have the results back. It was either by a Sunday or a Monday, and Rizzo said, well, we can't work out. I don't have the tests back. And he got yelled at by Major League Baseball, but he's like, hey, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have the tests back. I don't know if I got 10 guys positive or everybody's fine.
Now, those were intakes, so that is something that baseball is through now. Those were tests that's back in the beginning when people were first reporting. Now there's a system where the players are getting tested, but I think what they're discovering is they've got to figure out how this happened. Did the Marlins players catch it at the hotel in Atlanta? Did they catch it at the visiting clubhouse in Atlanta? Did they catch it on the plane? Did they catch it from outside of the ballpark or inside the ballpark? They got to try to figure out the answer to that, because they don't want another team to have this many positives. Because at the end of the day, what Rob Manfred said in his interview is that he's not going to cancel or suspend the season unless the competitive integrity of the games is put into question. And the fact is, if the Phillies have 11 players and then the Yankees have 11 players and then the Orioles have 11 and the Marlins have 11, all of a sudden you've got a problem. If it's just one team, you're going to get through it.
You know, David, I was thinking yesterday, I was watching, I think MLB Central, whatever the first live show is there on the MLB network, and they had Matt Olson on. And Matt Olson started talking about maybe wearing a mask when he's playing first base. And I give a lot of credit, rightly or wrongly, but the NBA shutting their season down was way ahead of what anything else that was going on in our country. You know, we're fighting this mask thing still. I don't know why, but we are. Couldn't baseball step up and be a real leader here if players started playing with masks?
Well, they have the opportunity to. They just have chosen not to. And so I absolutely think more players should wear masks. But I also think if they followed the protocols and wore the masks correctly, it would be helpful. So there are a lot of managers who are wearing their masks below their nose, or not wearing them at all. And as I said on Nothing Personal yesterday, wearing a mask below your nose, you might as well wear it as your jockstrap in baseball, because that's about the impact it'll have. And then you've got no social distancing happening. And MLB, as part of their protocols, they actually submitted drawings to the teams of how players could be in the dugout, where they should be, how it should work in the clubhouse in terms of arrivals and departures. And it's really set out in detail, and it's being violated left and right. So I do believe that if the protocols were followed properly, that would be helpful. But even if they were followed perfectly, there is still a risk of spread and outbreak. And that's just the reality, which is why baseball and the union said we're going to have 60 players.
David, upon further review, and I know that we talked about this a few weeks ago, in which we joked. Remember when we played Little League in Babe Ruth? We got dressed at home. We drove to the game. We got out of the car. We were dressed. We grabbed our glove. We went on the field when it was our time to play. It seems as if the most dangerous area for the teams, once they're near the ballpark, are the clubhouses. Well, you could almost eliminate their time in the clubhouses if everybody came to the ballpark dressed. Do you think that's the next step?
You know, the NBA is talking about doing that in the bubble, and they're saying that they've got to come to games dressed in their in their uniform and a sweatshirt and sweatpants that'll be given by the league. There's no showering before or after the game in the lockers in the Orlando bubble. I absolutely agree with you. And part of the protocols that I talked about were that strict, where there's literally no reason to be inside the clubhouse at all. And that's very different for baseball players because part of their routine very much involves the clubhouse. It involves the training room. It involves being there. And MLB and the players couldn't get it together on that issue. So they ruled that players can't be in the clubhouse until 5 hours before the game. And my answer to that is that's ridiculous. In my 18 years inside a clubhouse, there's maybe one or two players on your team, maybe, who get there 5 hours or greater before a game. The majority get there after that. If you're going to make an impactful rule, you say you can't be in the clubhouse except for a 10-minute stretch before the game. That would be an impactful change. So MLB's got to look at these protocols, but what they're really waiting for is what we're going to hear today. That's the big news, is what happened with the Phillies and the Marlins, who took another set of tests after the 11 positives came back for the Marlins.
The rain delay in the Yankees-Nats game, you know, that's another protocol. Guys sitting around in the clubhouse there. I know that the one thing about this season, whether it's baseball, hockey, basketball, football, is the ability to change on the fly and update your protocols. But when you've got guys sitting in the clubhouse for a couple of hours, that doesn't really help things. And are they prepared for that, or why would that even happen?
Yeah, so I would have changed up that rule as well. When there's a rain delay, that was an issue that happened with the Marlins and the Braves, actually. When the Marlins were playing exhibition games in Atlanta, Don Mattingly went public and said we were not comfortable with what we were doing during that rain delay. I think every stadium needs to have areas available for players in case of a rain delay that's not the clubhouse. You know, just at Marlins Park, which of course I was a part of building, we have 25 different air-conditioned rooms that we could make available to the players. We could put TVs, air conditioning, water, Gatorade, and a little stipple of food. So every player could be hanging out by himself during a rain delay, and one room for every coach. So there's definitely ways to do it. And I think that all the stadiums need to be ready for that, at least those without a roof, in order to ensure that during a rain delay, you don't have every player in the clubhouse, because you're exactly right. What they're learning about the COVID is that indoors, maskless, is how the spread is really happening.
He's David Sampson, former president of the Miami Marlins. Now he's talking baseball with the CBS Sports family. Follow him at CBS Sports HQ and also on Twitter at David P. Sampson. His podcast every day is called Nothing Personal with David Sampson. All right, let's talk a little baseball, though. Before the Marlins story Sunday, the first 72 hours was going pretty well. People were excited. Comment about whatever you want, whether it's the runner on second to start the 10th, whether it's the universal DH, just the level of play itself. Your thoughts about the baseball that is being played?
Well, let me start with the fact that the parity is something that has been a dream of baseball since Bud Selig was commissioner, so every team would have hope, and they expanded the playoffs from 10 to 16 teams already, and after 3 games, 30 teams were either 2-1 or 1-2. So for the first time in 66 years, you had no 3-0 teams and no 0-3 teams. And that makes a lot of sense for me this year. because to start off with such a quick spring training part 2 with so few exhibition games, there really hasn't been time for the better teams to outshine the worst teams. It's going to happen over 60 games, not as much as over 162, but there will be a separation, but not yet. So I think that the more teams who are in the race, especially with expanded playoffs, that will help those players, in theory, be disciplined and follow protocols. I love the extra inning rule. There have already been, I want to say, 4 extra inning games. They all ended in the 10th inning. It's great to see teams figure out ways to score. I think that most teams in those 4 games scored in both the top of the 10th and the bottom of the 10th, which makes it exciting. And again, you want people out of the stadium, and it has nothing to do, for me, with COVID. I've wanted this rule forever because as a team president, a 17-inning game is my worst nightmare because it messes with the pitching staff. I have to call up players from the minor leagues to replace pitchers who are burnt out after an extra inning game. So I've really enjoyed that. And I think that the other thing on the baseball side that concerns me is the injuries. And I don't mean COVID. You've got players, and we talked about this, I think, even on this show, that with the quick spring training, I was worried about injuries, whether it's Corey Kluber or Clayton Kershaw, Steven Strasburg. The injuries are just adding up for pitchers, and that is a definite concern as a team president or former. What would happen with our players who are signed to big contracts who are trying so hard because the games matter so much that they blow out?
Well, and that's where I was going to go, and you're on to something there with all the pitching injuries in the early part. After a great weekend, yeah, the COVID's one thing, but a lot of pitchers hurting their arms, that is scary as well. You mentioned the extra innings, and you like it. I'm fine with it. We had it as our poll question yesterday. Over half our audience likes that as opposed to we actually offered a tie, but it was pretty close. Here's the bigger question, David. Is this something, this looks to us like a test balloon. This looks like something, and for the record, my co-host, David, has been on your side as far as extra innings forever. He's wanted a tie after 12 as long as I've known the guy. It looks like a test balloon to us. Is it?
Well, I think that I'm going to say that about everything because nothing's agreed to for 2021, and everything has to be bargained again. And whether it's the extra inning games, whether it's the universal DH, it's all the expanded playoffs, who knows? And I don't think players, if they were honest with you, would tell you that they want to be at the ballpark to play 18-inning games. That's the equivalent, and it sounds crazy to say this. If you were told, if your show ends, at 10:30 in the morning, that every once in a while, they knock on your door and say, by the way, you're here till 12:30. And we're not going to tell you when, but there's circumstances that'll happen. We'll knock on the door, and you've got an extra couple hours on the air. You do it, but I'm not sure you do it happily, and you may ask for more money. Players don't love playing extra games because it takes a toll on their body, and they're at work longer than they normally would have to be. So I think there is a way for this to become an actual rule going forward, and that's something that I push for during all my years in Major League Baseball.
David, very classy of you for that charitable gesture during the COVID time that we were away. And thanks so much for your time once again. All the best with the podcast, Nothing Personal with David Sampson, and continued success with CBS.
Thank you. Looking forward to the next time. Have a good day, guys.
David Sampson. Follow him on Twitter, David P. Sampson, the letter P, David P. Sampson, joining us once again, former president of the Miami Marlins here on Miller and Moulton.
Got a new movie out of him today. I'm fired up. It was like pinned tweet was about this 500 Days of Summer movie that I've never heard of. He's like, take 95 minutes and watch it. And I looked it up. It's a rom-com, which means I get to watch it with the wife.
Oh, look at you.
Well, I've said many times, we are not TV compatible. We are compatible in nearly every damn way that there is. But we do not jive when it comes to television shows. She does not like violent shows. They haunt her dreams. And I want to see as many people get whacked as possible in 42 minutes. I like my violent television shows. She hates them. So we have to find middle ground. We're going to start watching Mad Men together. That's one that we thought we could do. But every once in a while, you want to throw a movie on it.
So when you suggest to her, hey, honey, I found a movie for us. Let's watch 500 Days of Summer. What if she says, are you jerking my bobber?
Miller and Moulton. Try not to jerk your bobber on Fox Sports Radio, where we stream at millerandmoulton.com. And you can watch these two bobber jerkers on twitch.tv.
Are you jerking my bobber?
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
This is on Dak Prescott. He tried to get everything. Tom Brady never really did Russell Wilson and bad offensive line. Cowboys offered him $35 million for 5 years. He wanted 4. He tried to thread the needle and get everything. You don't get everything.
Colin Cowherd. Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
For over 20 years, the Good Feet store has been helping people with foot pain get back to doing what they love.
That even got an F. That didn't even get an LMAO. It got an LMFAO.
Or our newest location in Fort Myers.
Put this up.
My barber, totally.
Let's see here.
Routine, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood. And the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood.
That's right up there with masturbate and tackle. You can't beat our bait.
How much their mood improves once they get
You jerking my bobber. God, that's a
jerking my bobber.
That's going right up on the Facebook page. Did you see the picture I sent you?
I did.
Okay, just making sure.
And I saw you put it on front of the camera there. Absolutely.
And that'll put you in a good mood too.
Old school bobber too.
Express treatment plan is convenient, affordable.
When it's a Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan type, you've got to go with that.
Right now. Find out more. Go to c4mh.com.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger.
I never
it's
used
just
a
like
bobber.
The Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added
many a time
jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese.
Certain types of fishing,
We
it's
took a burger
imperative.
that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack?
All right, two friends, Sarah Powerball jacket, Powerball jackpot win, keeping 92 promise. Would you keep your promise 28 years later and split a Powerball jackpot? Yes, I keep my word. No, it's 16.7 million.
In 42 states on charges of bringing a sweat to the brow of
That work?
breakfast lovers with low spice tolerance.
Yeah,
We
just
start with
read
a
how
Moulton
you
Stretch biscuit.
laid it out.
Two friends share a Powerball jackpot win, keeping a 1992 promise. Would you keep your promise 28 years later and split a Powerball jackpot?
Limited time only at participating Hardee's
Okay.
restaurants. Price and participation
Yes, I
varies.
keep my word. No, it's 16.7 million.
And subscribe to the daily podcasts.
It has never happened before and may never happen again. $1 million in credit stimulus at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. We've teamed up with the most forgiving lenders in America to get everyone approved for the new car they really want. If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, you could be approved for new 2020 Kia Sportage lease, just $199 per month. That's right, a new SUV for $199 per month. Bad credit, first-time buyer, unemployed, overwhelmed, upside down. During the credit stimulus event, all credit situations are welcome. It's first come, first served. So arrive early and be prepared to drive home today. But hurry, because when the $1 million in credit stimulus runs out, this sale is over at Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com.
You should be driving a Kia.
You know I would.
I would too.
Yeah, I would. Handshake's a handshake. Deal's a deal.
One, keep my promise. Two, are you jerking my bobber?
Are you jerking my bobber?
We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery, and the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and 0% interest on all new Kubota products. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Now through July 31st, 2020. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information.
Creel Tractor serving Southwest Florida since 1972.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with
Don't
hurricane
be a
and windstorm
spreader.
damage. Call us today for a free inspection.
I just feel
Google
compelled to yell that
DRM
every now and
Roofing
then.
Or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
26 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, you get a free Twitch channel. Make the Miller and Moulton channel your channel of choice. Sign up. We would appreciate it. The Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. You can text or call into the show at 479-5551. 479-5551. Pat Kerwin, an hour from now, to talk all things NFL with training camps opening today.
Discovered a story yesterday that has led to our poll question today. Gentleman won the Powerball, and 28 years earlier, he had made a promise with the friends saying the two shook hands. If we ever win the Powerball, we split it. And he called the guy 28 years later and said, I won the Powerball. To which his friend replied, Are you jerking my bobber?
We're selling T-shirts before 9 o'clock.
You know, I read that story and just simply passed over that line yesterday. I would have been saying this for 24 straight hours. My wife, my whole family, I'm going on vacation next week. We are having a family vacation. We're going to be in the mountains in a house social distancing, and they're going to kill me.
Yes, they are.
Because at least once a day, every time someone says something, I'm going to be like, are you jerking my bobber?
Every day. Every day. It could be every hour of every day.
Oh.
Every new person you come in contact with, you're like, ooh, they haven't heard it. And then the next day it'll be like, ooh, they haven't heard it today. Right. Oh, no. By Thursday, someone's going to stab you in the neck.
And it could be my daughter. And she's 6.
Yes. Right.
So, yes.
Oh, you like this bobber, huh? Huh? Enough already.
So are you keeping your promise or no? It's $16.7 million.
I mean, a deal's a deal.
But
it's 8 figures. I mean, then come on now. I mean, I like you and all.
How about I just give you $1 million and we call it a day?
Right. I mean, what are you going to say, no?
Right. Call me a bad person because I gave you $1 million instead of 6.7?
Right. I gave you $2 million even. What? You're going to complain about the other 14 you didn't get?
By the way, both of these guys are retired. It's not like this guy's. How's he going to go through 6.7 million?
Well, let's take it easy now. I mean, it's a lot easier to gamble now. Just take it easy.
It's a good point.
You just, you all of a sudden you could turn into Mickelson or Barkley in a casino. You can go through some coin pretty quickly.
That is a dadgum good point, David.
You get in the wrong foursome, Mark. You start betting damn near every shot and doubling down, and you start pressing, Mark. You can start pressing pretty early in an 18-hole match. That's all I'm saying. I mean, Tom Watson had to pay by check one time. He lost so much money. I mean, that's.
Wasn't it who told the story that they paid Watson in $1 bills because he hated losing so much? It was one of the guests.
I think it was because Watson paid by check.
Right. So they gave him.
So when they lost to him, they paid him in singles.
In singles.
Right.
And slid it under his door. I mean, that's the stuff I love.
That's Tuesday. That's Tuesday on the old tour. Oh boy, miss those stories.
479-5551, 479-5551.
By the way, answer the question. All right, if you shook hands And there's probably no more than a handful of people that maybe count them on 2-3 fingers, people in your life that you would make that handshake deal with. And in theory, you play the Powerball regularly. He plays the Powerball regularly. So it's, listen, you do your thing. I'll do mine. We'll make a deal. If either one of us wins, we split it. Yeah, sure. Great. All right. Would you own up to it?
Yes.
You do it?
Absolutely. Look, I am a lot of things, and most of them are not good, but I'm as loyal as a dog, and I'm honest to a fault. Mostly because if I lie, I can't remember, and I would never want to get caught. It's just a lot easier for me to tell the truth. I've had friends in life that, whether they were cheating on their girlfriend or running around, and they lived in these lies, and I would get too damn confused. I like to drink. If I start telling lies when I'm drinking, I wouldn't know what the hell. I mean, I repeat stories all the time. At least they're the same ones.
At least the ending. Have you heard this story before? I mean, at least you're not that guy in which you go, yeah, just wait for the ending. It changes every time.
Right.
Right. At least you're the guy in which you go, yeah, he's telling the story. You want to know how it ends? Yeah, and I'm that guy. There's probably 3 people in my life that I would have made that handshake with. All right, if I had, and I would honor it. I would. You know me, Mark. I would honor it. I mean, hell, I'm the guy who says he'd win the Powerball and he wouldn't retire. Although I got to admit, I'm starting to waffle on that.
Thank you. I mean, if anything that I have worked on you so much on over the years, it's your desire to buy an arena football team or a radio station and want to work harder after you win 9 digits. I've never understood that.
Right. Not buying the radio station. I am a sucker for arena football. I don't understand how air conditioning football doesn't work. Air conditioning, beer, and football. How is this not thriving? I don't understand it. I never have. So, yeah, I'd probably lose a little bit of money on that. I would semi-retire, put it that way. I would want one broadcasting thing. Probably not every day, though. The show would go away. I'd probably just
Saturdays?
do a little play-by-play.
Maybe a Saturday college football show, 10 to noon, no?
No, I would just want to do a little FGCU play-by-play or play-by-play somewhere. Mighty Muscles, just something. FSW, just a little something. Wet the whistle, that's all.
I would only do play-by-play for a Mighty Muscle game if they changed the name.
Well, they already did.
No. Again.
Gotcha. So you and I, we would live up to the handshake.
We would. And for the most part, we either have a bunch of really loyal people or a bunch of liars who listen to our show, because early on, over 90% say they would keep their word.
Yeah, they're lying.
I don't think that they are.
They are, and here's why.
Wow! First one of those in a while.
No. They're lying, and here's why. Because they may want to honor the deal, but most people are in a serious relationship, either married or and so that you have other people to answer to, and they are going to think that you are bat blank crazy. They're going to go, "You did what?" And think about it, Mark. This was 28 years ago. Now, I think both guys are still married to the same people when they did their original handshakes, but just think about it. Okay, you and I both were in relationships in 1992 that we're not in now. Okay, and so you could see where our current spouse would go, whoa, hold on a second. All right, you were single or you were whatever. No. That's half that money's mine. Oh, no. You can't just give away my $8 million of that 16.7 because what? Yeah, handshake. We'll cut him a check for $2 million and he'll be happy. We got kids, grandkids. We gotta, this is generational money here. And you're giving it away because of a handshake agreement? What, this is a bar bet, basically?
It's a great point, David. So you're not saying that they're lying. You're saying that they want to be truthful, but they might not be allowed to be truthful. Right. It really should have been the third option. Yes, I'm keeping my word. No, it's $16.7 million. There's no way my wife would let me split it.
Right.
I mean that could be the third answer. But David, there is just one thing said in our text chat that I've got to get to. Johnny Mac said this, and I need you to think about it. And I can't wait to ask my wife this night because she's going to laugh at me for an hour. Men tend to keep their word. Women tend to forget. Now, let me explain. Johnny, I don't know if you're on your 4th or 5th marriage at this point. But the one thing that I've learned in now 2 marriages is that women forget far less than men.
Yes.
And by far less, I mean 98% less than men.
Correct.
They remember everything.
Right.
And will use it at the precise point when you're at your weakest moment with what that point was you made 28 years ago. And they pull it out of their back pocket and stab you right in the neck with it. And you've got nothing. So, Johnny, again, best of luck on your 6th marriage. But I find that to be the most inaccurate phrase ever said in life. We keep our word, but we forget everything. I mean, what more than likely would have happened in a lot of us was your buddy would call. Don't you remember that we agreed? Oh, crap, that's right, I did. Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, honey, I don't know what to do. I got to give him $12 million.
Right. And that's where, that's why this becomes an hour-long show. Because otherwise, this could have been a vignette. Okay, the episode really begins when he has to come home and say, "You're not going to believe this." Okay, but I promised Johnny over in Superior there, I promised him 28 years ago that if he won the lottery, he'd split it with me, and if I won it, I'd split it with him. So, honey, I'd forgotten this, and in our excitement and celebration last night and the whole deal, but I owed Johnny $16.5 million. Yeah, here we go. Now we had to fade to black. Now we come out of commercial break. Now the episode begins.
Yep.
Absolutely. Here we go. How's that conversation going over? All right. Play that one out. That's why I said everybody right now, I'd live up to my word. Okay. All right. Okay. And my wife's very charitable. I mean, she gives away all of our money. All of it. All of it.
You'd have to give me half of the lotto winnings just so you had some left over.
Exactly. I would lie. I would say to my wife, no, we only won $16 million. Okay. And I would say to Mark, stash this under the bed, will you? Right. I'll just keep coming by. You just keep handing it. People think we're just doing a drug deal every day. That's okay. Just keep handing me the money. Brown paper bag in it. That's all. Boy, he takes a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to work. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's how we would do this deal. Absolutely. Yep. I have looked my wife straight in the face and say, you do know if we ever win the Powerball, there's a certain amount that I just stash. All right. You don't get
this joint checking account means both of us have to sign every check that goes out.
Right.
Because any of your charitable donations have to be approved. I don't know how to tell you this. I have no problem being charitable. We're just going to agree on it.
You do know the glass, it says in case of emergency, break glass, where I'm going to stash this money. It's going to be if you have less than $6, you're allowed to take some of this. That's what it's going to say. Right. So that's the part of this equation that I don't think people are taking into consideration. You got to be honest now. All right. You shook your buddy's hand 28 years ago and said, hey, you keep playing the Powerball, I'll keep playing the Powerball, make you a deal. I win, we split it. You win, we split it. Absolutely there, Mark. Here you go.
Couple of good texts, David, on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, 479-5551. One is, I would offer the money and hope like hell. The other guy said, no, I can't take all of that. Better not have made that promise with me, because I'd say, yeah, I can. As a matter of fact, I can take all of it.
Right.
And then, as we've been talking about the You're Jerking My Bobber t-shirt.
Right.
A couple of people, one in the Twitch chat room and one on the Williamson Brothers Marine talking text line, said, how do I order the t-shirts? And let me explain to you first, we'd have to make them.
Right.
Second, we'd have to get them on our website and figure out how to sell them there. Then maybe we could start this t-shirt business. But there's a lot that has to happen before we can sell t-shirt number one.
Don't laugh.
We just redid the whole website, and I don't think there's anywhere to sell anything on it.
Well, we're going to create it, all right, because if you remember, kind of like the bar bet from 28 years ago, in which this could earn you $16.7 million, we had a conversation with the powers that be with Twitch, and they can make stuff. They said they could make stuff. Remember, we were talking about mugs and shirts and what have you. They said they can make stuff.
Yeah, I can make stuff too.
I'm just saying. Hey, are you jerking my bobber? All right, this is hotcakes, baby. Hotcakes is what this is. This is.
I think we could sell 6 of them.
6 of them.
Yeah, I think our T-shirt sale, between the T-shirts and the money we're getting from Twitch, we could retire in 2097.
Right, just before one of us.
Just before our grandkids are dead.
Stop it. So that's the poll question. That
Mark Miller, the David Moulton, those places. That's where it's at.
Yeah, whatever. All right. So there you have it. You made a deal. You shook hands. You're going to split the Powerball with your best buddy. 28 years later, one of you wins the Powerball. You're going to honor the deal, yes or no? All right. And just don't just vote the way, I feel really good about myself. Of course I'd honor the deal. It's a hypothetical. No. Be realistic. And imagine yourself coming home and having to have that conversation with a significant other in your life. All right? Just imagine it. And are you going to be able to go, hey, I don't know what to tell you. We lost half of this in the last 12 hours. What do you mean we lost half of it? I promised Tommy over there that if something like this ever happened, I'd give him half.
I think both of our wives would be okay with it. I really do. I shouldn't say okay with it. I think both of our wives would allow it.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think they'd be okay with it, though.
No, I think that's a strong phrase. Okay with it. They would allow it and hold it against us for a very long time.
Yeah, like forever.
Life.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. For the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. In fact, when we're dead, they'd be saying he was a great guy, but he would have been greater if he had held on to about $15 more million. Right. I would have loved him a lot more.
That's a dadgum good point. I mean, you're not jerking my bobber there, David. That is just facts.
Are you jerking my bobber? Come on, you got to say that to somebody in your life today.
That all started from this story because the man who got the phone call from his buddy who hit the lotto responded with, "Are you jerking my bobber?" That was the thing. That was the first thing that came. Hey, man, I hit the Powerball. We're going to split $16.7 million. And the reply was, "Are you jerking my bobber?"
There you go.
So if at all possible today, your boss, your coworker, if you go to lunch somewhere and they offer a special that sounds really good,
right,
just look at the waiter or waitress and go,
"Are you jerking
my bobber?
You're offering chicken salad sandwich and fries for $7.99 on a Tuesday? Are you jerking my bobber?" Miller and Moulton. You know what? If this is heard the wrong way, this whole show could be an FCC violation. We might get kicked off YouTube for this show, for all we know. Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when, coming up, Pat Kerwin in about 40-something minutes, we'll ask him, A, our poll question, and B, is he jerking our bobber? On Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
I look at Rob Gronkowski, and this is the old grass is always greener. But you're going to a place.
If we could, David left.
Since they won a Super Bowl, they've only had 2 double-digit win seasons since they won a Super Bowl.
Right after that'd be a perfect time for my. Do you have a pecker problem commercial?
Change. But you know what's hard? Transition.
Doug Gottlieb afternoons at 3 on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Dial *2020. Friends, I care.
Cataract surgery has become so advanced that patients can literally design their vision to meet their individual lifestyle needs. Imagine life without cataracts and being able to see clearly without glasses or contacts. Dr. Jonathan France and his team of highly skilled specialists at France Eye Care bringing you state-of-the-art technology through the light-adjustable lens. This lens, made of a special photosensitive material, allows prescription adjustments to be made after
White Sox Indians at 3:40
surgery.
today? Looky there.
Designed for the unique individual nature of your eyes. It's lights on after cataract surgery with a light adjustable lens. Call France Eye Care today to find out if you qualify and see your future in 2020. Dial ** 2020 from your cell phone or call 239-418-0999.
France Eye Care.
Want to talk about Stadium Dry Cleaners? My good friends, they are great people there. I've been going to Stadium Dry Cleaners, I'm telling you, for as long as I can remember. And you may know Larry Rose. Now, Larry is an experienced SEC and NFL referee. Well, I know Larry has a fantastic dry cleaner and a great businessman. Look, you're going to love Stadium Dry Cleaners.
My wife did
discounts
listen
for
to
our
the first part of the
responders
show.
and seniors. They have multiple locations.
Yeah.
And
Publix
then
and
took a
Daniels
nap,
Crossing in Fort
and so
Myers,
she
the
didn't
Gateway
hear
Trade Center in Fort
what
Myers,
we've been
and
doing
the
for the
Elegant
last hour.
Image Dry Cleaners
So she
next to
just said
Walgreens on
something
Del
to me, and I
Prado
looked right
in
at her and
Cape
said,
Coral.
"Are you
They
jerking
are
my
Lee
bobber?"
County's leading dry cleaner since 1988.
And she
30 years
gave
of
me that
experience in Lee County. I'm telling you,
look,
I trust
you
my
know, that
family's
you're
dry
probably going to get
cleaning
when
to
you
Larry and the
say it to
team
the
at
waitress or
Stadium
whatever
Dry
today.
Cleaners. So will you
So,
visit them? Visit Stadium Dry Cleaners.
Lotus Broadcasting has gained the rights to the Raiders and will rebrand 920 AM as Raider Nation Radio.
We're talking about their huge selection
In
and great
Vegas?
pricing
Yeah.
of Cortec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Cortec in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up.
Did you ever kill a guy?
Lifetime warranty.
No, sir.
You know, next week could be a washout anyhow down here.
We also carry the Cortex Stone product.
There's a big hurricane coming this
So
way.
you get the softness, quietness, and the easy.
No. The whole
Look of wood,
dust thing is gonna. You talking? It's gonna make it.
The dust is gone. First off, the dust is gone.
No, there's a big dust thing right now. It's going to be here by Friday.
A big dust. No, the hurricane's going to be here on Saturday.
It's not going to be a hurricane.
We talk the talk. This is
Okay.
They think it'll be a tropical storm at best. They think
I don't
that
care.
the
I'm leaving
Saharan
town.
dust thing- Right.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk the talk,
A lot of sports stuff to talk about.
we back it up.
Good sports talk radio.
They think if the Saharan dust thing wasn't on top of it, it would become a really big deal, but they think the Saharan dust thing is going to suck the oxygen out of it.
Nationwide. Your local Towboat U.S. companies in Charlotte.
That's what I've heard the last 12 hours.
24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake-O, and out 75 nautical miles.
And I threw on a couple different channels, too, just to see. That's their story that they're sticking to right now, Mark.
64 for more information. Or visit Towboat U.S. Cape Coral.
You guys leaving right after the show Friday?
No, not until she gets out of work. We're going to get a hotel in Jacksonville, do half of it, and then get up. It's like a 10.5-hour drive, and the last thing I want to do is get up at 5 o'clock Saturday morning, so I'm dead Saturday night. It basically ruins a day of vacation.
5-star reviews than My Shower Door. We've been named #1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year.
So are you driving back all day Sunday?
My Shower Door.
Saturday.
So you'll drive both Saturdays?
Yes.
No.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
– 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. TB Gator Boy in our Twitch chat room asking the question, what's a better slogan, I guess, on a T-shirt? Did you ever kill a guy, or are you jerking my bobber?
First off, both.
Day.
Both. I mean, they would be part of the shirts.
All right. So there you have it.
We're getting there.
Slogan.
We've got great shirt names. We just don't have any shirts.
Just don't have any shirts
or anywhere to sell them.
And well, we finally have a website that we could sell them on. We just have to do a little more work.
Right. You going to take care of that?
Yeah, I will. I'll be all over it. All right. I'll call the guy who does the website and say, hey, this is what you got to do. Need you to do it. I can contribute about $10-12 to the cause. What do you say? When do you think that'll happen?
Time now for
Miller and Moulton. Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
1896 is where we start today because the city of Miami was incorporated. So happy birthday, Miami. 1914, the Foxtrot was first danced at the New Amsterdam Roof Garden in New York City.
Boy, think about the sensation that caused.
Yeah,
Woo,
by Harry
boy.
Fox.
Ha!
Look at that.
Probably why it's called the Foxtrot.
No blank. That's why I brought it up. 1929, the Chicago Cardinals become the first NFL team to train out of state. They went to Michigan for camp in 29. 1943, FDR announces the end of coffee rationing in the U.S. I merely bring that up because we can't get people to wear a mask now. Could you imagine if we told them we were rationing their coffee? I mean, do you think of the sacrifices that people in our country had to make for centuries, and we can't put a damn mask on without it being the end of civilization. I mean, we are taking your rights away. What if we took their coffee away?
Huh.
How do you think life would be in your house, David?
I'd be dead.
1945, Betty Sue Oliver survives falling 75 stories after fog causes a U.S. bomber plane to crash into the Empire State Building, breaking the cables supporting the elevator she was operating. This remains a world record for the longest survived elevator fall.
Wow. How do you try to break that record, though? Okay, nope, 75th, 76th, 77th. All right, I'm ready.
Stop this thing.
Okay, somebody snap the cable.
51, Alice in Wonderland was released. 54, On the Waterfront was released. Would win Best Picture. 1973, the Watkins Glen Outdoor Summer Jam. The largest gathering of people, they say, in the history of the United States. There were 150,000 tickets sold for $10 each, but over 600,000 people attended. Saw the Dead, the Allman Brothers, the band, among others, but they say it's the largest gathering of people ever in our country. 1989, Dale Murphy hits 2 3-run home runs in the same inning. He is the 14th man to hit 2 home runs in an inning, also ties the record of 6 RBI in an inning, and also gives us an opportunity to bring up Dale Murphy and wonder why the hell he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right, because when he retired, everybody said he was a Hall of Famer. He's one of like 12 or 13 people in the history of baseball who won back-to-back MVPs. And he was a dominant player for a decade, period. He was a dominant player for a decade. 1980s, the center fielder of the 80s was Dale Murphy, period.
Don't get it. 91, Dennis Martinez throws the 13th perfect game in baseball history.
Great call, by the way, for Dave Van Horn, who we've made a lot of fun of over the years. But Dave Van Horn doing the Expos games in which he says, El Presidente was El Perfecto.
1992, I only bring this up because the groundbreaking of the Marlins 7500 Spring Training Stadium was done today in 1992, making you wonder why they actually needed a regular stadium. David, today in 1993 was the last time one of your favorite bands performed as that group. Natalie Merchant performed with the 10,000 Maniacs at the birthday bash for Z100 in New York. Bon Jovi, Duran Duran, the Proclaimers, Terrence Trent D'Arby were also on the bill, and that would be the last time the 10,000 Maniacs with Natalie Merchant would play together.
Right. I believe their MTV special aired
correct
after that day, but they had recorded it a couple months earlier,
yes,
unbeknownst to all of us.
That is exactly correct. 94, the baseball players decided they were going to strike today on August 12th. They gave their announcement of that date. Also today in 94, Kenny Rogers throws the only perfect game in Texas Rangers franchise history against the Angels. And in 95, Art Modell's people began their secret talks to move the team to Baltimore.
And I do think we could all learn something from how that deal got closed. Modell's there with the Baltimore people, and the mayor of Baltimore said, basically, if you leave the room, the deal's done. Off.
If you were born today, you share your birthday with Joe Jackson. No, not the hip singer, the head of the Jackson family, and a really nice guy by all accounts.
Yeah.
Jackie O, born today in 1929. Bill Bradley, born today in 1943. Sure, he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Sure, he was a senator for nearly 20 years, but I know him best from the Sports Center commercial.
Right. When Dan Patrick asked him if he had ever done any public speaking before a big audience, and Bill Bradley said, well, I gave the keynote at the Democratic National Convention, and Keith Olbermann with a straight face said, we said a big audience.
Sally Struthers from All of the Family, born today in 1947. Pitcher Vita Blue, born today in 1949. Goaltender Garth Snow is 51. D'Amico Ryans and Zach Parise are each 36 years old today. And your favorite, David Soulja Boy, is 30. And that is, today was the day when, on this July 28th in the year 2020, the day that Moulton learned that he was jerking somebody's bobber.
Right. Soulja Boy's 30. Are you jerking my bobber? I am. I'm not going to run. I'm just going to stand at the end of my driveway just so that I could see some people and just, use this line. I'm going to use it on the mailman. I am. I am going to be looking out my window all day waiting for the mail guy to come.
So you're telling me is when your wife said yesterday, do you have anything going on today? And you looked at her, you may have to discover some errands to run today just so you can use that line.
Yeah, I may have to go on a crime spree. I mean, something. I got to be out and about.
I may have to go on a crime spree?
Something to get out of the house. I mean, to be around people.
Not really the line you want to use when you are wearing a mask everywhere you go.
Well, that is true.
I mean, you just confessed before the fact.
But when the police pull me over and you're under arrest, are you jerking my bobber? I'll bet they haven't heard that in a while.
Or ever. That could get you pulled out of the car and beaten.
Could get me let go, though, because they're laughing so hard they drop the keys and lose them.
Fair enough.
From Southwest Florida's news leader, this is a Wink News Update.
Oh, are we getting a COVID update?
I'm Kirsten Delgado with Wink News. Today, Lee County schools are presenting a new district-wide mental health plan to the school board to help kids adjust to going back to school during a pandemic. Collier County schools are expected to discuss this year's school calendar at their.
Did you just hear that?
Right now,
a
students
mental
will
health
go back
plan.
to class.
A mental health plan. They don't even have a plan on how to teach, for the love of God. All right, I got to get a coffee before I can't.
I'll give you an idea for a mental health plan. Free Skittles.
Commissioners will discuss a mask resolution at county businesses, asking customers to wear masks.
It'll go
when
over
not social
big.
Distancing.
David, that's a good point. I'm going to check in my daughter's mental health, and I think if she's doing badly, I'll just give her candy.
Right. Concerns. Trust Wink News, Southwest Florida's news leader.
David's head on a T-shirt with a small Mets cap, but did you ever kill a guy on top? Yeah, that's about right.
It's Fred Kobe with
The merch store is forming. Telling you.
All the time, what's the best air conditioner? My clear answer is the right system for the right reasons.
People would wear a golf shirt, in which on the back we had 2 or 3 of our favorite expressions. Did you ever kill a guy? Are you jerking my bobber?
It's made completely in the United States. It supports American jobs and meets United States standards.
And here's why.
10-year parts and labor, no hassle policy.
Just saying.
And it's only available through Kobe Cooling. We set a higher standard, and we're proud to lead the way. The best is easy to spot. Kobe Cooling's Florida Reserve, made in the USA. When you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you'll think of Kobe Cooling. No nonsense and no pressure. We're the company your neighbors use. License CACO 57313. Kobe.
We're going to talk about it here coming up, but, for the record, I don't think anything's happening in the baseball season. I know everybody was in panic yesterday. Unless the test results come back in the next couple hours and, like, the Marlins have been wiped out as a team,
Here's what's trending now.
And quite frankly, I think it'd have to be more than the Marlins.
C4MH.com.
I think this would have to cross over to the Phillies. Exactly. What do you mean? You don't offer the extra value meal supersized. Are you jerking my bobber? Swim shorts with you jerking my bobber? I'll tell you, Mark, we got great suggestions here for merchandise. Swim shorts with you jerking my bobber?
Seth, that's quite a show, by the way, that you were at. I'm pretty impressed. Oh, see, yeah, Johnny Mac, you're Seth was saying he was at the concert that I mentioned, not the Dylan Petty and Grateful Dead at RFK. He's talking about the
right
Z100 thing.
Yeah, Z100 used to have the summer concert series down on the pier in the city. They were incredible.
That's it. Miller?
But since we can't sit next to one another, I was thinking about the first break, toasting my English muffin and saying, hey, it's English muffin time during the starting five.
And Moulton.
Love BOGO English muffins. You throw one on the counter, you throw the
that
other
special's
in the
over, too. I'm really starting to get ticked off.
You take it out. When you've got
2 weeks above. I mean, I went through 4 of those suckers. Mother-in-law loves them.
Broadcasting live from the
one left for today.
That's it? Can't even make it through the week? Miscalculated.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
Mother-in-law ruined that equation. That was the problem.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday in July. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and we are broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. You can call or text into the show at 479-5551, 479-5551. We have a great poll question today, if we do say so ourselves.
And it's not, have you ever used the phrase, are you jerking my bobber?
No.
Which could very well be tomorrow's poll question.
Or when you used that phrase yesterday, how well was it received?
I did like, by the way, just really quickly, Dave Dorsey, who's a fan of the show, done a lot of great work for the News Press over the years, just reporting that there are only like 15, 16 cars in line at Hammond for COVID. If you are one of those 15, 16 cars and listening, 479-5551, please use the phrase, are you jerking my bobber when you finally get tested?
Right.
But two friends share a Powerball jackpot, keeping a promise from 1992. Our question is, would you keep your promise 28 years later and split a Powerball jackpot? 85% of you are liars.
Now, you might not be intended liars. I mean, you may be well-intentioned, and you're like, yeah, we're going to split this. But I am telling you, there is now, in all likelihood, a different person in your life than there was 28 years ago. And they are going to say, I wasn't around when you made that promise. Hey, half that money's mine, right?
Brandon on Twitter said a lot of self-righteous liars in this poll. And he just simply says, depends on the friend and how close we are today.
Huh. Okay. You also find out, who wears the pants in the family. I mean, you're giving away a lot of coin. A lot of coin. For a handshake. 28 years earlier. Because you guys were having a few Leinenkugels too many. Okay. All right. Sure. Great. And we'll see if you get away with it. But that's the poll question. I say yes, I keep my word.
I don't have a lot of friends that I would do that with, and the ones that I would keep my word. Because it's a small group of people that I'm that close to that if I shook hands on something, I would. Moulton and I for years have said if we won, it's 7 digits to the other. That's our word to one another. If we won a big Powerball thing, here's your $1 million.
Right.
Knock yourself out.
Right. If it was a really big Powerball, it might be a little more. Might be 1.5 or 2, something like that.
So
I've got through this in my head a lot, Mark. I've dreamed, especially during this coronavirus. I don't know how everyone's killed the time. I have thought about how I would spend the Powerball a few times.
Is it different in coronavirus than it was pre-coronavirus?
Yes, it is.
Because now you just buy the island and call it a day. You don't really need to go anywhere.
Right. I mean, I have changed in the last 4 months. I have become less ambitious. I will tell you that.
Good for you. I'm proud of you. I'm wearing off. You're wearing off on me. I'm watching baseball. I'm wearing off on you. You're getting lazier. Good for you. Looks like the Patriots are getting lazier.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, 4 Patriots have opted out of the 2020 season. Is this the coronavirus, or is it because Brady's gone?
Is this Belichick? Is this a Belichick virus? I mean, what? Honestly, really?
Well, Hightower's the 4th Patriots player to opt out this year.
What?
Dante Hightower has opted out, becoming the 4th New England Patriot to have opted out of the 2020 season.
Who are the other 3?
Oh, goodness. I knew you were going to do that.
Well,
I thought you had one in your...
no, there was...
Cannon has opted out.
Who?
Tackle, Marcus Cannon.
Okay.
And
I had only
Brandon Bolden is opting out. And fullback... I'm sorry, Hightower's Bolden's now the 5th. So Bolden, Hightower, Marcus Cannon, Danny Vitale, and center guard Najee Torin. 5 Patriots have opted out of the 2020 season. 5.
Mark, I didn't realize there were any. I'll be perfectly honest with you. When I did the starting 5 in the 6 o'clock hour and I talked about Ravens kick returner DeAnthony Thomas, I mean, the only other person I had known about in the league who had opted out was the Torrent, the Chiefs guard there, the med student, the Canadian, who had opted out. Now, I will say these guys got to make this decision by Monday the 3rd.
Which I think is...
I think that's
absurd.
Ridiculous. And, Mark, they negotiated 2 extra days. The owners originally said August 1st. The players actually negotiated, hey, can we have a little more time? And they got all of 48 hours. I didn't realize that 5 Patriots, and you get a stipend.
Right, $350,000, I believe it is.
If it's for the coronavirus, if it's for another reason, it's only $150,000.
Well, then what's your reason going to be?
Well, it's going to be the coronavirus.
I mean, Jesus, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Just
I'm opting out because of religious reasons.
I was going to say,
not the coronavirus. You know why? Because I really don't want that extra $200,000.
Right. I mean, why?
The dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, Brady's in Tampa, and I'm kind of sick of Belichick. Well, that'll cost you $200,000.
Right. I don't want to play with Cam. Did you happen to see Cam arriving at Logan?
No.
Cam says, I'm not talking. It basically made it known, I'm not talking to anybody. And they attacked Cam at the airport much in the same way you don't ever walk up to a famous person in a restaurant. He gets off the plane. Cam, I know you didn't want to talk, but I want to let you know you're live on Channel 7. They went live. They didn't even try to tape it. Hey, we're going live. Cam Newton's walking off of a plane, and we're going to ambush him.
What did Cam say?
Cam said, I know you don't, he kind of laughed. He goes, but we know you don't want to talk, but do you have anything you want to say? And he kind of laughed. And it looked like he's still walking, and he just said, I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but I am really excited to be here. That was about it. Then he said, go Pats. And I mean, they tried, when do you plan on talking? I don't know. Go Pats. Boom, I'm out of here. He went all Patriot way. right off the bat. This is Cam Newton. Yeah, this is Cam Newton, who's, kind of likes the camera, and he still had a great outfit on, had his mask on, still looked, very much Cam. You're not losing that swag overnight.
I so desperately want him to be their starting quarterback, and I want him to score a rushing touchdown in the first half of the first game of the year. And I want him to do his Superman to the end zone, and I want a good view of how many people in the stadium do it back to him.
Well, the answer to that question is going to be no more than 25%, because that's how many is going to be allowed at the game.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, David, it was a great, you worked into that, and you're right, but there's not going to be anyone there.
It may also take them a game or two to realize that this is what he does. This is their thing. I mean, because they basically just watch Patriots games. They're not interested in the rest of the league. I mean, come on. If you were a Patriots fan in the last 15, 20 years, why watch the rest of the league? I mean, honestly.
It's really the one fan base that probably didn't need to play a lot of fantasy football.
No. So, why watch the rest of the league? Maybe a little bit you were intrigued by Peyton and the Colts because you kind of knew we were going to go through each other all these years, but that's about it. That's what all the stuff that they have criticized of other people doing. You wait if Cam tears it up this year. All right, what Cam fever will be like. Especially since it looks like the Red Sox are not going to be any good. And we don't know what's going to happen with the Celtics and the Bruins here in the next couple of months.
Well, they both are poised to make runs. I mean, the Bruins are the best team in the game, and the Celtics have a very unique roster that could be dangerous in the East. I mean, they if you told me right now the Boston Celtics were in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'd go, oh, okay.
Right.
Wow.
Getting out of the East.
Who did they beat?
Story, but
Right.
But you could see them getting to the conference finals. Absolutely. 479-5551, 479-5551, Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. If you're just joining us, spent a lot of time early in the show, in the first hour and a half of the show anyway, talking about the Marlins coronavirus situation that really mushroomed within 10 minutes of this show ending yesterday, in which 4 Marlins became, 11 or 12 players, depending on which report you believe, along with 2 staffers. And so additional testing has been done. Marlins still in Philadelphia. Still. And then depending on the test results today, knock on wood, if all goes well and no one else is infected, then they will get on a bus and they will head to Baltimore, and they will play the Orioles Wednesday and Thursday in Baltimore. But today's game in Miami, much like last night's game, already postponed. And we should also find out what the deal is going to be with the Phillies and the Yankees, because they didn't play last night because, A, the visiting clubhouse needed to be disinfected, and B, the Phillies were, taking a bunch of coronavirus tests and waiting on the results. And those results are supposed to come back today. And
2020, folks. Mark, 2020.
You tell me, you're the GM of the Phillies, the president of the Phillies, or you're Rob Manfred. Let's just say testing wise, everything's okay with the Phillies. You play the game in Philly?
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel confident about the visiting clubhouse
and
where the Marlins were and all that. And so,
yes. I think that should be, based on what I've seen a couple people say that work in this area, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. All right. I wonder if the Yankees will feel that way.
Well, now that's a totally different question. You asked me if I'm the Phillies.
Right. That's true. I did.
I did. That's. Do the Yankees even want to play the Phillies right now? If 4 people tested positive and then all of a sudden it's 11 a day later, and as David Sampson said, they're testing every other day. Now, I know they went and did special tests for the Phillies and the Marlins. David, if 5 Yankees opted out today, I wouldn't be shocked. And they have a chance to win the World Series, obviously.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And in baseball, by the way, you can opt out at any time because the Colorado Rockies pitcher yesterday, after hearing all the Marlins news, he said, yeah, I'm done. I'm going home. I'm good. Thanks. This has been fun. I don't feel comfortable.
You know, a great weekend of baseball. Saw the gambling numbers. The take at a casino in Vegas for the weekend was what's typical of 3 weeks of a take of baseball done in 3 days. That's operating at 25% capacity at that particular casino. So the baseball weekend was terrific. The ratings were huge. I mean, people were in. A lot of people a lot of non-baseball people that it's not their favorite sport like the extra innings idea. Baseball purist hates it. I get it.
Right.
Guy watching, hockey purist hated the shootout. But new fans went, hey, this is really cool. TJ Oshie's an American hero for shootouts in a overtime. He won't be on our next Olympic team. People are like, why is he not going to? Because he's not good enough anymore.
Right.
4 years later, he's not one of the top players, but we all know his name because he was really good in shootouts. And sure as hell, if the U.S. loses a game in shootout in the next Olympics, where was TJ Oshie? But,
right.
So I'm baffled on how we're going to get forward. I'm just baffled right now.
Oh, I'm not. I mean, to me, there's only 3 options, but to go forward, there's only one. I mean, there's a reason that they have the 60-man roster, if you will, in baseball. I mean, in theory, they have a guy to replace every other guy. I mean, right now, rosters are 30. They got 30 other people that are training at their spring training complex or AAA field or wherever.
I got
and
you.
In theory, I mean, the Marlins are going to have to call 12 guys out.
But we're
12 of the 30. Boom.
But we're through one weekend, and we have an outbreak with the Marlins. We've had 4 big-time pitchers go down with injuries already.
Now, that's not getting talked about enough. I mean, we're talking Verlander, Kershaw, Strasburg, Kluber.
Right. These are guys you all know their names, which
Right.
is tough in today's baseball. Let's face it. I mean, 4 big-time pitchers are down. One team's decimated already with the coronavirus, and we've played for 3 days.
But besides that, Mrs. Lincoln,
How was the play?
Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, David, this is just...
But if you're baseball, Mark, if you're Rob Manfred, there's only 2 choices.
No, you're right. Stop or press on.
Yeah, or, I mean, you could pause. I mean, if a situation, like, let's face it, this story evolves if the Phillies test positive.
Correct.
If multiple Phillies are positive because they shared a field with the Marlins for 1 to 3 days, then, well, pardon the expression, this is a whole new ball game. All right. And if it's more than one team that's greatly affected, if you're baseball, you may have to consider, are we going to pause? But then again, you got 26 other teams because the Orioles are affected because of the Marlins and the Yankees are affected because of the Phillies. But are you going to stop 26 other teams because you got this little Marlins-Phillies situation?
No, and David, I don't think a pause is possible. And let me just explain. If you pause this and quarantine a whole league again for 2 weeks, then you have to have a couple weeks where they get ready. These injuries, if you hit the pause button, are going to amplify. I don't think you can pause. I think you either press on or you end it.
I mean, in theory, isn't this the procedure and the protocol that you talked about? I mean, come on, I hate to sound like a broken record, but you and I said this, and we are not the brightest bulbs in the drawer 4 months ago. You have got to think in terms of when people test positive, what are you going to do? Because it's going to happen.
And as David Sampson said on our show earlier, I said, looking back, why did they play with 4 positives? And somewhere between 4 and 11 is the magic number that, no one knows. What was the number where they said, we've got to cancel today's game, or we've got to postpone today's game. We have a problem here. And I don't know, again, David, I just don't know how a pause is possible. 4 frontline pitchers are already hurt. You pause for a week, you can't count the number of little nicks and injuries you're going to get. So
well,
I think
I'm not thinking of pausing for as long. You've mentioned 2 weeks and you've mentioned a week. I'm thinking for like 48 hours, a pause. That's all. Because a week or 2 weeks is a stop. I'm just thinking of a pause. All right. It's one thing to like cancel a 2-game series in Miami between the Orioles and the Marlins. Here's the other thing to consider, by the way. These are the only times that I believe the Yankees and the Phillies play, and that the Orioles and the Marlins play, because they're in different leagues. You play each other 4 times this year. The teams from the AL East play the NL East 4 games. 5 times 4 is 20. You play your division opponent 10 times each. So in theory, if you're Major League Baseball, you now have 3 days for the Yankees and the Phillies to play 4 games. Now, does it matter if the Phillies play a home game at Yankee Stadium and they bat last one of the games that's played in the Bronx? Yeah, the ballpark's a little different, but no. I mean, come on. I mean, no. And, I mean, are they going to make the Marlins and the Orioles, by the way, play 4 games in 2 days? Or are they going to, let's be brutally honest, go, come on, it's the Orioles and the Marlins. It's not like they're going to be in playoff contention.
Bingo. That's what I think they're thinking, because now that, and particularly as you mentioned, they're doing a lot of these back-to-backs. So you only have 6 off days. You're going to try to jam in a doubleheader on an off day? For television rights? I mean...
Well, but that is where the money is. Let's be honest. It's the only place the owners are making money this year. So if you cancel 2 games, I mean, if you're, the Orioles and the Marlins for that matter, and that's the other thing that has to be worked out. The Marlins have to call and go, hey, we got to split some of this TV money, I mean, we're playing all the games at your place. But Marlins and Orioles not playing today, by the way. Marlins are just going to find out whether or not they're being allowed to travel to Baltimore. The Orioles, I believe they flew back last night because they got into Miami Sunday night.
Right.
So I think they flew back to Baltimore late yesterday.
Couple of texts to get to here quickly, David. Williamson Brothers Marine Talk and text line. Big part of the show today is Are You Jerking My Bobber? Which was said by the man who is getting half of the Powerball winnings that 2 friends agreed upon, which is our poll question today. When his friend called him and said that they won and he's going to give him the money, the other friend on the line said, "Are you jerking my bobber?" So this person says, David, if you get arrested and use the "Are you jerking my bobber" line, I'll bail you out.
Done. Here's a question. Do I have to get arrested today or tomorrow?
I don't think it matters.
So in other words, this is 3 years down the road?
I think he's got your back.
Oh, my goodness. And one final question, does it have to be in the 239 or outside the 239?
I don't think that matters, David. We'll keep you updated as the story updates itself.
Because I've got game outside the 239, I'll tell you that.
This person says positive tests are inevitable in all sports leagues as the coronavirus people freak out when they occur. The Marlins players will be fine. Set up doubleheaders later in the season to make up for missed games now. Sure. The problem is you're only playing a 4-game set with the Orioles. There are only 5 or 6 off days. This is not as easy as just picking a date and making sure that you can get in doubleheaders.
And remember, it's early in the season. Pitchers haven't built up their pitch counts and all that. You don't want to be playing 1 doubleheader right now, never mind 2.
And this one I don't think will happen in a million years, but I really appreciate the text and what he's saying. I cannot imagine this happening in baseball. He just simply says, the MLS tourney went on without 2 teams. No bubble in baseball. That's how it'll play out if more cases happen. No way. No way are they just going to say, let's just, for instance, the Phillies had the same breakout as the Marlins, that Manfred's going to say, yeah, we're going to play with 28. No, I can't believe that. I love your thought process behind it, and I appreciate the text. But
the big problem with doing it that way, and for what it's worth, sir, I thought about it yesterday, and I even tweeted about it. But the problem is, what do you do with the games that are scheduled? See, the MLS was able to rework their schedule. They were only playing a handful of games against one another. So it was in baseball, what do? You never mind the fact the Marlins and the Phillies are in the same division. I mean, think about that. That's 20 games for the Braves, the Mets, and the Nationals. Do you give them all wins? I mean, are these forfeits? I mean, what do you do?
He also points out that the handshake's a verbally binding contract on the Powerball.
Okay. All right. I like my chances in court. I got to be honest with you. An email's a different story. That's binding. Handshake, I'll take my chances in court. Don't get me wrong. I'd honor the handshake. But I'm just saying, if you're going to threaten me with the legalities of the handshake, okay. Especially when it was found out that I had about 11 Leinenkugels in me when I made the handshake.
Pat Kerwin. He has a verbally binding contract with Miller and Moulton. And he has honored it for over a decade, and we certainly appreciate it. He is next. Pat Kerwin on Miller and Moulton. Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com. And join us in the commercial breaks on twitch.tv.
Orlando Magic basketball is about to take flight. Every high-flying, rim-rocking play. Dunked again! This is unreal! Will be heard right here. The season resumes Friday afternoon against the Nets on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports!
For over 20 years, the Good Feet store has been helping people with foot pain get back to doing what they love without their feet getting
Tweet from Joey Knight from the Tampa Bay Times, David. I think he covers USF Bulls, but he says ADs from this potential coalition, Hillsborough, Manatee, Osceola, Orange, Pasco, Pinellas, and Polk counties expected to talk again today.
About what?
High school football.
For over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
We're not part of that.
No, I'm just saying, but this is, hey, when the Tampa Bay area counties all pull in and do their own thing, Lee County and Lee, Charlotte, Collier, Hendry, Glades will do the same thing.
Talk about Stadium Dry Cleaners, my good friends. They are great people there. I've been going to Stadium Dry Cleaners.
What is their grand opening?
Did you get my text about Pat, by the way?
I did. I did.
Well, I know Larry has a fantastic dry cleaner and a great businessman. Look, you're going to love Stadium Dry Cleaners. They have discounts for our first responders.
We got him on the home line today, huh?
Multiple locations near Publix at Daniels Crossing in Fort Myers.
I love it.
Gateway Trade Center in Fort Myers and the Elegant Image Dry Cleaners.
Why is Trevor Lawrence trending?
Del Prado in Cape Coral. They are Lee County's leading dry cleaner since 1988 with 30 years of experience in Lee County. I'm telling you, I trust my
because the
family's
Patriots
dry
are,
cleaning to Larry
everybody's
and
opting out so they can get
Stadium
Trevor
Dry
Lawrence.
Cleaners. So when you visit them, visit stadiumdrycleaners.com and look for their monthly specials for great savings.
Do you like me? Like Miller and Moulton on Facebook.
Well,
Just
it looks
search
as
Miller
if
and Moulton.
you're not getting your service time. Because in this story, it's talking about Hightower and Bolden were both entering the final years of their contracts. And apparently now what their salary was supposed to be for this year will be their salary for next year. So these guys are not getting paid and they're not getting service time. You want to talk about the difference between the MLBPA and the NFLPA? There you go. Right there.
Yep.
How much stronger the baseball union is.
Parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Summer clearance event featuring Ram Bighorn crew cabs.
Good morning.
Morning, Pat.
Hello. How you doing, Mark?
Well, I'm doing better than the Patriots at the moment.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
Oh boy. It's scary what's going on there. Yeah. I just got done doing the linebackers, and it was a disaster doing them with Hightower. And without him, if I showed you some numbers, you'd go, this is way worse than I thought. And I already knew it was bad.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tech in stock.
Tell you what, though, Pat, this could be like, in the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs had a good thing going. And David Robinson got hurt very early in the year, and then Sean Elliott got sick, and they had a disastrous season. They ended up with the first pick of the draft, got Tim Duncan, and about a 20-year playoff
we know what he's looking for.
Right, and could the Patriots have the 20-year run, bottom out, get Trevor Lawrence, and then have a 20-year run?
Yes. No one can lie about dumping a season like Belichick could. He'll stay grumpy-looking, pissed,
right,
happy all the time.
That's fourmeisters.com.
Yeah, what will Adam Gase do if that happens? Or another player.
Owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been
Okay.
repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity.
Well, Pat, we're going to ask you our poll question.
Of course.
I don't know if you're aware, but the two guys in Wisconsin who had a handshake deal 28 years ago, if one wins the Powerball, they'd split it with the other. Well, it happened, and so the guys split it, and to the tune of about $17 million.
Dave, I'm sure if you and I had a handshake like that, Mark and I would run away with the money.
Don't know if you heard
Of course
Pat's
they do
answer
it.
to our poll question there, but we'll get him to say it again live here on Miller and Moulton as we make the turn for home on this Tuesday. Pat Kerwin, kind enough to join us once again, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. All right, Pat, we'll get right to it. Our poll question. You and I make a handshake deal 28 years ago. If one of us wins the Powerball, we'll split it with the other. Sure enough, 28 years later, it comes through. All right. Would you split the Powerball?
Yeah, but I tell you to meet me at that diner we like to have breakfast at, and then Mark and I would take off with the cash. No, of course we would. You can't take it with you. You know, there's no U-Haul on a hearse. There'll be more money than we both need. In fact, I think because Mark was part of this, we have to give him some too. We're not leaving him out of the equation.
I like it.
Because Mark will simply go out and buy the nicest boat he can find, and we'll be out fishing with him.
There you go, Pat. You know that. Had some nice red snapper last night, as a matter of fact, that was caught recently. Literally in the last 20 minutes, we're doing our segment at 8 o'clock, and I said to David, what's going on with the Patriots? He goes, what are you talking about? I go, 5 players have opted out. And I stopped David in his tracks because it's happening so quickly. But the biggest being Hightower, also the running back Brandon Bolden. They also have a starting lineman in Marcus Cannon, who, that's a starting right tackle and a starting linebacker. Pat, this is a big deal right now, what's going on in New England.
Yeah, it's a very big deal. The cynics will say that he's setting himself up for the first pick of the draft. Maybe he is, but maybe it's going to happen. But I've said this all week. There are going to be a lot more players opting out than people think. And they put a lot of pressure on the players by going, if you opt out, there's no coming back and all that business. I don't know why. Why do they put stuff like that in? When the players go to camp, and they're not going to be at practice, but they're going to be watching how things are going to work, I would think that you're going to see a few more go. And maybe this is going to even encourage more Patriots to go. But we were doing the linebackers of the Patriots the other day, just to make a fast point here. And I accumulate a lot of stats in my decision about what I think of them. They were in such bad shape with Hightower. Now, you can't even imagine. If I told you the numbers where they're at on things like tackles returning, the best 3-4 defense in the NFL bring back 400 tackles. They're bringing back 83. They're bringing back 3 passes defense when the average is 20. The tackles for loss. The average team is bringing back, the good teams are bringing back 43. They're bringing it back 7. Their numbers are so bad that this is going to be a disaster, and it's going to get people are going to run on them and everything else. But if at the end result is that they land up with the first pick in the draft, then maybe they're pulling the Colts when Manning was leaving and in came the other kid who didn't last very long. But so the fantasy for the Patriot fans is that that's what's going to happen. And they'll be fine with a losing season. But this is a tough one to swallow. And Cam Newton, without Cannon, Cam, you better get your track shoes back on because they're going to be short at linemen too. So, and you forgot Vitale, the fullback. Some would say, well, they were going to cut him. I didn't really know that. They like fullbacks like Dan Vitale, and they had given him, he had a $1 million salary and I think a couple $100,000 signing bonus. So they're going to lose another guy or two, and I think you're going to see a bunch more go because it's not looking pretty right now. And what happens in baseball is definitely on the minds. David, you said it. Baseball is the real study for the football guys. And I don't even think it's close because baseball's kind of played with social distancing always in mind, except when you're batting. So I don't know. It seems to me like more and more guys are going to take the 350 if they can prove they have an issue, which I know Marcus Cannon does. We all know that. So take 350, go home, rest for a year, and come back.
All right, very quickly, it's Dante Hightower, who's the returning captain and defensive signal caller for the Patriots. Running back Brandon Bolden, starting right tackle Marcus Cannon, fullback Danny Vitale, and reserve lineman Najee Torin. Those are the 5 right now that are planning to opt out on the Patriots. Pat, the one thing that I did learn, at least in the story that Mike Reese posted on ESPN.com, is he claims, Hightower and I think Cannon both were in the final years of contracts. He claims that their salary and their contract will now both get moved to 2021. We wondered a week ago, would these guys get paid and or severance?
I don't think they're going to get a year of experience. Right. We've had this argument on our show. The agents I've talked to do not expect any of their clients to get a year of service.
Right.
The contract's going to.
Right. And so it's the big difference between football and baseball, the power of the union. The baseball union was able to get their players a year of service time. The football, no. You opt out, well, pick it up where you left off a year ago. And I think we lost Pat.
There we did.
No, we did.
Talk amongst yourselves, everybody.
So we'll try to reconnect with Pat. But I'm telling you, when I did the starting 5 2 hours ago, there were only 2 players in the NFL who had, quote unquote, opted out. The starting lineman for the Chiefs and the Ravens kick returner yesterday. So all of this, and in fact, most of these guys have not officially opted out, but they have publicly told other players, or Mike Reese and Adam Schefter have gotten the information that, well, it's a procedural thing. They are, in fact, going to opt out. And Pat, you believe that many others will as well? Do you think it'll be about 5 per team?
I don't think it'll be that many. Some of the names will be somewhat insignificant, but I do think each team should be suspecting 2 starters. And the guys who've made a lot of money, they aren't going to get killed by missing a year, and they're going to land up back on this contract next year. I don't think that they're not going to let these guys free. There's too many clubs that plan their cap for years out, and they can't all of a sudden have guys coming free. They're going to like Hightower should be coming back on his deal with 1 to go and not free. That's the way I think it's going to work out. They have not stated that to my knowledge, but that's the way it's going to be. But yeah, what's going on in baseball and what's going on, because baseball, everyone's living at home. See, I said this yesterday. People don't understand. You guys understand, but the fans don't understand. Well, these guys go, first off, you're trying to manage a lot of guys. And with this extended practice squad, all young guys, you're talking about trying to keep 70 to 75 players under an umbrella and begging them to go home. I talked to Pete Shaw about this yesterday for a long time. So there are more players that the NFL has to worry about than basketball, baseball, and hockey combined. And you're starting to see even trainers get the COVID. So at the end of the day, can you convince basically 70 players to never go out, to go home? And here's the one that's not brought up enough. Most of these guys have friends and family living with them. All these young guys, 22, 23, their buds from college are coming and hanging at the guy's new crib and using his car while he's at practice. We all know the stories of how many guys got in trouble because the guy staying with them borrowed the car and then did something illegal. Tyler Boyd had to go through that. So we have it all the time, and it's a major problem. And with this virus, the players can tell you I never went out, but they're going home to friends and family. Didn't they tell your mom and dad you can't stay with me? They waited their whole life for you to have enough money to do something nice, and now, no, you can't stay with me. So you got an issue in every house that's going to compound the potential spread of the virus every morning when they go back in. So I think that the smarter veterans that have made money, and especially, like, why is the tight end from Baltimore even today? I'm playing, I know I've got diabetes. Really? And here's the last thing I'll ask you. Don't you think there are a certain number of guys, not many, that the league should say you should not play, we're not going to let you play, here's your stipend, or here's your full salary, go home, you're too much of a risk?
All right, let's get to some football matters because Jamal Adams was traded. I'm sure you've talked to Pete. It was a bit of a king's ransom, or at least I think it was. There are others that do not. When getting the Tunsil-type deal for a safety. Just your thoughts on the trade when it certainly seemed that Adams was done in New York. Joe Douglas did a nice job to pull all of those picks out of Seattle. Your thoughts on the deal?
Yeah, Pete was tickled to death to get him and justified the whole compensation package this way to me. He said, we always think in the high 20s, you know that. If Jamal Adams lookalike was up there and we had to go to 6, 7, or 8 to get him, we'd have to give away next year's first round plus this first round. So that's easy for me to do it. Number two, Jamal Adams is 24 years old, and he's proven. I'm not so sure the next guy is. The most important piece to Pete already knows he can keep him for 4 years if they don't get a deal done. And his environment is pretty interesting, and Jamal will be fine there. He really will be. But if you understand how the Legion of Doom worked and what the whole thing was really all about, it was about Cam Chancellor. Cam Chancellor ran the defense, which Pete already knows this guy's a leader, and he loved. I told him a couple stories about what that kid said to me halfway through his rookie season when we were talking about him the other day. But he's been looking for the Cam Chancellor piece since Cam Chancellor. It's not Earl Thomas, and he loves Richard, but it's not Richard. It was Cam Chancellor. Why? They play a lot of one-high safety, and the other guy, Cam Chancellor, was the robber. He did all the other stuff. Plus, this guy brings a sack dimension to this. He had 5.5 sacks. He's already thinking, okay, if I don't get Clowney back or if I got to manufacture sacks, I got a guy who's proven at that. He was very happy to give away these draft picks. And I always quote Pete at the end of this speech I give. Pete has said to me 1,000 times, Pat, they're not going to fire us for spending money or giving picks away. They're going to fire us for losing. He decided we're going to win more now.
Pat, they need a pass rush, though, and we've talked about this for 3 months. There are really good defensive linemen that are still available, and we're training camps.
That point because we talked about that too.
Training camps open today, though.
It only cost them $1.6 million of space to put Adams on the team, so that was a nothing dent for them. Once they gave up McDougal, blah blah blah, and where they have it. All these people that think, well, Tennessee and New Orleans are now the finalists for Clowney. The agent's not stupid. He's going to look at the 2021 salary cap to figure, can they do a real deal with me, or do I have to take another one? Well, let's see. If the cap's 175, New Orleans will be over by the most in the league. They'll projected around 250, and Tennessee's going to be over. But you know who's not going to be over? Seattle. Their schedule to have 50 players under contract with $150 million absorbed. That means $25 million's left. Oh, and that includes Jamal Adams at $9.8 million. So don't think they're not making their pitch. And if they miss out there, Everson Griffin has already verbally said he wants to play. Maybe Clowney now sees Jamal coming and wants to come back. They can get a pass rush.
Let's go to the other side of this from the Jets standpoint. When Adams left, I mean, he didn't just throw Adam Gase under the bus. He backed over it a couple of times. The talk about the leadership and Adam Gase, I don't know how I don't know how this team wins and how he survives, but how tough is this for Adam Gase when the heat he's taken from the outside right now?
Adam has a history of when he doesn't want someone, he wants to get him out of here. I go no further than Jarvis Landry. All right? Jarvis went to him and said, I want the ball more, and he was moved not soon after that. Here's a question I'll ask you, because I got asked this question right away from a Jet fan. Will Adam Gase be here to see the benefit of all those draft picks?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I think that Joe Douglas, listen, he didn't hire Adam Gase. He didn't make the Le'Veon Bell signing. I mean, Joe Douglas is not tied to any of these guys, and they gave Joe a 6-year contract. So Joe's calling the shots as proven by this weekend. So, no, I think if this year doesn't go well for Adam Gase, that Joe moves on, and no one's going to miss him.
That's right. And I think that's the scenario that's going to play out. That's not breaking news. I think Adam has to do something soon anyway. But I think this is taking compensation for the next head coach. And will that make the next head coach this job appealing to a guy? You basically just started training a young quarterback. You got picked all over the place. A lot of guys will line up for that job. And Joe is a great guy. And a lot of coaches are going to want to work for him. So I think this is setting up in an ugly way for Adam Gase. I feel bad about that. I don't like when coaches get pickled in like this, but it looks like that. The question I have for you, David, do you think this is setting up for Greg to be the head coach? You know, Greg, who's the head coach once before in another city, thought he was going to get the Cleveland job. That Greg.
No. I think that Joe will pull somebody from his Ravens or Eagles past. I wonder if it'd be more Jim Schwartz likely to get it as opposed to Greg, to be honest.
The Jets did. You're thinking the right way. I think he'll look to the old. He knows that they had a formula in Baltimore, and he'd like to reenact that formula with someone that knows the formula, that kind of thing. So I think he's got a couple choices, but I think that's the way it'll go for the new head coach, which unfortunately I won't say it again, but this deal did not really make me feel like, oh, the Jets are going to be better this year. Are they taking a step up or a step back without Adams?
I'm taking a step back. The other thing that Mark and I have pointed out to everybody, the AFC East, they had a very easy schedule last year. I mean, so, the Jets finished 6-2. Look at who they beat in the second half of the year. And the AFC East has a much harder schedule this year than last year. It's going to be difficult for the teams in that division, including Buffalo, to match their win totals from a year ago unless they are significantly better just because of how much tougher their schedules are.
I agree with that, except someone has to win the division. And, I'm not even sure we're playing 16 games. We'll get to that some other time. But Buffalo just had two giant great things happen to them. Adams left, and the Patriots linebacker core is falling apart. So Buffalo just got stronger. So they can win the division 7-9, 8-8. If I told you 8-8 was going to win the division, which team would you pick?
Buffalo.
Patriots.
Hey, Mark, you are like the Statue of Liberty standing in the harbor proud.
I'm going to lose my money betting on Bill Belichick, not on the Buffalo Bills. I'm just not going to do it, Pat.
I was with you until all this other stuff happened. And I thought he'd be able to, with Cam and a decent, they had a very good defense, as we all know. But now Hightower is a linchpin. Do you know when Hightower is gone, which he's going to be, they will have Bentley, who started 2 games, is now the senior citizen. I'll go through it real fast. The outside linebackers will be Jennings and Uche, 2 rookies. Bentley will be inside. They can't bring up one inside linebacker with any experience. Harris, no games. Hall, no games. Cardone, no games. And then they have two backup outside linebackers that just said goodbye to Copeland, and Calhoun has been a bust. They have no one.
Think about it. Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins, Dante Highpower were part of their linebacking core a year ago. All three gone. All right, that's some serious talent.
Oh, don't forget Landon Roberts. He would have been the captain of this team. Do you know Landon Roberts had 3 starts? That would have made him the most experienced linebacker on this team with 3 starts.
He's Pat Kerwin, CBS Sports, NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons. Pat joins us weekly during the offseason, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, safe travels. Stay safe. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Pat Kerwin, kind enough to join us once again on Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly to wrap things up on this final Tuesday of July. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
You're the Statue of Liberty standing in the harbor.
Hey, I'm sorry.
I don't blame you. That's smart money. You go down with the ship.
What if the headline was Mahomes satisfied?
You're right. How many times do we say, hey, if I'm going to lose my $20 here, which side am I more comfortable losing this money on? You're more comfortable losing money on the Patriots.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time.
All right, Seth, here's the only thing. When you use these quotes, are you going to put Pat Kerwin appearing on the Miller and Moulton show in Southwest Florida said?
The greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and
Don Collins will love it if you work Twitch.tv into the story.
And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood,
Hell
too.
yeah, with a link.
C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor.
Seth.
The pool doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark.
Are you jerking my bobber?
To operate? Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home. Free on-site evaluation. For 40 years.
I'm going to be walking around the house all day, just cracking myself up.
Service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls.
Oh, my God. 17 people, 17 anesthesiologist residents at the University of Florida College of Medicine went to a party together and all tested positive for COVID.
There you go. When someone says we need to talk, well, here it goes. We need to talk, but don't panic. This is a good kind of talk. Those glasses and contacts you're sporting, they're just in the way of you having the freedom to enjoy a more flexible lifestyle. France Eye Care wants to offer you $1,000 off bilateral LASIK. I will say the Marlin story got Julie looking at me last night going, are you sure you're going to go to work? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Because otherwise we got to move.
Well, that's what Eve keeps telling me. She wants to work less. You know, I said, that's fine, honey. You can work less now. We sell all of this. We go over. We get a mobile home right behind Rusty's there, and we're good.
Right.
You know, we can do this.
Right.
We just don't drink wine anymore. We live in a mobile home. We're going to drink Busch Light for the rest of our life.
Right. We just take our lifestyle, cut it in half. Okay, we can do this. You
right.
Can work as little as you want.
Or get your ass to work.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western bacon cheeseburger. It's just like the
I feel
Western
badly
bacon
for
cheeseburger with
Julie
charboiled
because
beef, crispy bacon, and onion
I was
rings,
hoping this was going to be the
topped with
summer that
tangy
she was
barbecue
going to
sauce, but we
be
had
done.
Spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese.
Instead, she's going to
We took a burger that was already delicious.
probably have to
and
keep going for
spiced
another
it up.
year.
Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy
I like
Western
this
bacon
commercial
cheeseburger at Hardee's.
because jalapenos
You're
sound like
happy.
this.
Limited time only at participating Hardee's.
Arizona, who's their third baseman? He should be
Hardee's
sent
presents
down.
the Southwest omelet, biscuit, and burrito.
Play. All he's got to do is catch a line drive, and they don't have that 4-run inning.
With low spice
Good
tolerance.
God.
Start with a made-from-scratch biscuit. And then we add a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon, and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up.
They don't play a bunt right. I mean, it's just embarrassing what my Diamondbacks did yesterday, David.
Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants.
I'm with you,
Price and
Mark.
Participation may vary.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martin.
And that wasn't ruled an error either.
Oh, no, it didn't touch a glove. He just waited. He kind of short-armed it, and the ball was hooking.
Eduardo Escobar.
You know, did you see the play?
I did not.
I mean, it was a rope, don't get me wrong, but the ball was hooking, and he kind of reached and didn't, I'm giving him a hard time because the ball was a rope.
Well, fortunately, he's backing it up by hitting $133 so far this year.
From the best headlines,
The best.
to the worst,
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
Of course I am. For the good today, there it is. I lost it for a second. I don't do this often because as a question was asked to me, why don't you like chain restaurants? We don't have time for all that. But the good today is the Red Lobster in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. They had a rare blue lobster, and instead of cooking it, they sent Claude to the Akron Zoo. 1 in 2 million lobsters are blue, and it's a genetic anomaly. So good for the Red Lobster in Cuyahoga Falls, David.
Cool.
For the bad, this is freaky, and also probably a dream for many of you men out there, because Anna and Lucy DeSanique are they bill themselves as the world's most identical twins. They appeared on a TV news show in Australia and made an announcement. They're going to get pregnant at the same time. Here's the kicker, with the same guy. That's right, they share their boyfriend, and they are going to have babies with the same man. Finally, the ugly. We go to Florida where David Hines was getting a lot of COVID money. He received nearly $4 million in federal loans intended to help struggling businesses. What he did to help struggling businesses, he's bought himself a new Lamborghini. He has been charged with bank fraud, making a false statement to a lending institution, and engaging in transactions and unlawful proceeds. He could face up to 70 years in prison. I hope the car was worth it. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on this July the 28th in 2020.
Poll question, go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or millerandmoulton.com. 2 friends share a Powerball jackpot win, keeping a 1992 promise. Would you keep that handshake promise 28 years later and split the Powerball? Yep, I keep my word. No way. That's $17 million. So far, 88% of you say a handshake is good. I keep my word. All righty then.
Want to talk about stadium dry cleaners, my good friend.
Guy texted, he says, upon winning the Powerball, if he had listened to your show, I'm sure he would have spoken the old rejoiner.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, Joe, you too. I'm sure he would have spoken the old rejoiner bumper phrase. Oh, crap.
Yep.
All right, Seth, I told John I'm going to get you that audio coming shortly, okay?